way or get caught up in the blast. We coming hard, we coming fast. Get out the way or get caught up in the blast. We coming hard into battle, thought they were strong, but they rattled like an avalanche. We advance, lights go out like a shadow. Soon as it starts, then it's over. Round of applause for the closing. The opposers know exactly who we are. We coming hard. Strong, but they rattled like an avalanche. We advance, lights go out like a shadow. Soon as it starts, then it's over. Round of applause for the closing. The opposers know exactly who we are. We coming hard. We coming hard. It's showtime, it's your time. It's game time, it's go time. You got one shot at a gold mine. It's showtime, it's your time. It's game time, it's go time. You got one shot at a gold mine. It's showtime. Showtime, it's your time. It's game time, it's go time. You got one shot at a gold mine. It's showtime, it's your time. It's game time, it's go time. You got one shot at a gold mine. It's showtime.
Your order is here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
This is going to be a question more focused on you right now, Beast. If you were not a PUBG Mobile Pro player, what would you be doing right now instead of this?
I would probably be studying business management and be a high-level football player.
High-level football player? Oh.
Yeah, I gave both things up for PUBG Mobile.
What position in football?
I was on the right side of front. I don't know how you say it in English.
Okay, I understand. Okay, cool. Damn well. We like having you with us over here on PUBG Mobile, so stick with us, please. Thank you. But no, that's pretty much it for me when it comes to the questions. But as always, I like to give you an opportunity to talk to the fans, the people that are going to be supporting you and Unicorns of Love this season. So go for it. The floor is yours.
Yeah, I'm really grateful for all the people who are supporting us and sending us those great messages. We've been training a lot, so we're going to show you this season what we can do.
Okay, well, hopefully it's going to work out just fine for you, Beast, heading into this season. But once again, thank you so much for joining me on this interview, and best of luck going into PMPL.
Thank you.
ready for this? Are you ready for this?
Welcome everybody to day 5 of PMPL EU. Now, yesterday was definitely one for the history books, and as we're only 1 day away from that final day of the first phase here, the heat is starting up and it's getting a little explosive. So I'm Ginny, your host, and joined today by Max once again on the desk. How are you feeling after that one?
Ooh, I still cannot believe that happened. 4 chicken dinners on the day out of their 4 games played. 4 GOAT team is an absolutely insane statement. And yeah, unlimited Riz on yesterday's matches for GOAT team. They got it, and it worked out great.
They did. It worked out incredible. And if you missed some of the action and you want to make sure that you're always tuned in and up to date, make sure to follow our socials. It's YouTube, there's Twitch, there's Facebook, and there's TikTok, where all the cool kids are at. But also, Max, you're doing something nice for people with socials.
Yes,
right?
we've got some cool stuff to give away. I tried to run something to pick a winner. It didn't work, but we'll do it during this show. It might be fixed by the time. So stick around and we'll be picking one randomly and also one live on air. We'll see how that's going to be working out. So you might hear your name, and do keep your DMs open. Otherwise, I can't send you the code. So open them DMs, and that's it.
And maybe if you ask nicely.
Please open your DMs.
There you go. Please open your DMs, and if you do get to win and you're walking away with a skin, you don't want to miss out on that, so make sure you keep them open. Now, we're going to be looking as well at the schedule for today, because we have, once again, a total of 5 matches coming your way. That's a lot of PUBG Mobile action, and that we're covering. 2 Sanhoks, though, Max. This looks a little familiar.
Yeah, some teams don't like it. Like Shockwave, I did message Trazen today. I was like, any changes we can expect? And they said, yeah, they do want to try and go a little bit more aggressive because they feel like they couldn't express themselves properly on that battleground. So I think that, no, Sanhok and going more aggressive tend to mesh pretty well together. So we'll see if that's going to be working out for Shockwave, because they're still not in a bad position. They're still in the middle of the pack, but you don't want to fall too far behind, because that's where things can get a little bit dicey for you. So we'll see if that change can happen.
Hey, that's when it gets a little scary. Now, let's hope that, you know, your French pride is going to be showing up today. But let's have a look at the overall stats anyway, because you said it, they're towards the middle of the leaderboard. But the question is, who is on the top of the rankings? And that is, as expected, MADBULLS, MUERTE, and GOAT team creeping in after an incredible performance. I mean, KONINA Power was one of those teams as well that we were really looking forward to. Major Pride, we've highlighted those as well. But Max, Dagestan, they're slowing down a little.
Yeah, slowing down a little bit. It's still some good results coming out from them, because let's not forget, except for Shifu, they don't really have that much PMPL, kind of this high-level esports experience in PUBG Mobile esports. So I'm really happy with a top 5. That's why I wanted to see them. I think that's what they are currently capable of doing. I think that with even more time, they can potentially even reach the top 3, even though top 3 is kind of hard to breach. But the top 3 in absolute shambles, though a little bit towards the middle of the pack. Shockwave, as we said, slipped down a little bit. But Shockwave, as we know, they're a team that is willing to make changes and iterations over time when things aren't working out. So you got to trust the process for Shockwave.
Yeah, you gotta trust the process for every single team. I mean, a little bit of aggression we've seen from a couple of rosters yesterday, but it feels like as much as you're trying to push it all, it's always a team like MADBULL. They have something else up their sleeves that you need to be worked out. But let's have a look at NEXUS specifically, because that's the team that was sitting at the 3rd spot when we started things yesterday, but GOAT kind of just like kick them off a little bit off of there. So when it comes to the eliminations as well on day 4, it seems like a little bit of steam is running out.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, you can see the eliminations going from 22 and 19 on their first 2 days, which is a really good elimination ratio to have over the course of 4 matches per day. That is like you're averaging around 5 elims per game, which is really, really strong. But when you're looking at yesterday, I think it's fair to say that GOAT team getting himself 4 chicken dinners and MADBULLS their chicken dinner. A lot of the points were just not being fed to the rest of the lobby. So the team was just trying to scrap things together to get a few points here and there. So I think a lot of the teams did lose overall from their initial averages from the first 3 days going into day 4. But NEXUS, I mean, we saw it. This team can make things work out. They seem a lot stronger in this lobby than when they were known as Eastern Stars. And I feel like that's just with the extra training they did, potentially looking at PMGC, with, of course, PMEC. They didn't quite make it through there, but
from PMEC to now, I don't know what the hell happened for the team, but overall they made huge changes. They're seeming a lot more aggressive, and it seems like they've overall adapted to this aggressive nature of the point system. And, you know, it's a go-to team when it comes to Western Europe, the old region, and it feels so good to see them do well in what you would call now a CIS-dominated region.
Yeah, they've absolutely been killing it. But another team that has been doing very incredibly well is MADBULLS, and that's mainly down to their consistency, not just over one playdate, but over every single playdate that we've had so far. I mean, when we're looking at elims, 25 is the lowest eliminations they've had in one day, and that is still an incredible amount.
How dare they get 25 elims? Disappointing.
Right?
No, good. No, but that is mental to be able to have your lowest elimination day be 25. And we mentioned it many times, right? The point system, if you're one of the teams that right out of the gates is able to just make a statement that this does not scare you, you will be able to just frag out, get the damage, get the eliminations. Like we saw from them, that's what's been working out so far. And the thing is, the fraggers are always set up so damn well. And I think that that's in part to Flique. We don't talk too much about him. You talk about your Talikas, talk about your Frozen, talk about your Zerich. But I feel like Flique always gets himself some nice sneaky angles to set up the team, and then they just go absolutely mad on the teams against him. And the average elimination, almost 7 average eliminations per game, is insane with good survival time. But MUERTE, they're a little bit longer in the game. They last about 30 seconds more than MADBULLS. They're all about that rotation game.
Yeah, MUERTE kind of like hot on their heels, just behind them. 30 seconds difference when it comes to average time that they're able to stay alive. Very close in terms of elims. But we have an interview as well with MADBULLS, so we can get a little bit of a feel of the waters and what they're thinking about.
And when it comes to the game itself, it seems like you have a very confident playstyle, especially when you were playing with Effect last year. What do you think your confidence in game is mostly based on so far?
Наша уверенность заключается в том, что мы много тренируемся и уделяем много времени изучением командам разным. И мне кажется, в этом и заключается наша уверенность.
Well, hopefully that's going to be working out for you and the team, Zerich, heading into the spring season of 2023. But right now, this new season is just about to begin at the time of this interview. We're 1 week away from PMPL. What would be your goals do you have set for yourself and the team heading into this new season?
Цель на 2023 год – это, во-первых, выиграть PMPL 2023 и пройти на PMVI.
Well, it seems like PMWI is going to be the main focus for all the teams in this season of PMPL. So we'll see if it's going to work out, but hopefully it will be the case for you, Zerich, and the team of MADBULLS. But as always, I'd like to finish off these interviews with a little quick word to the fans. What would you like to say to the people supporting you and MADBULLS in this spring season?
Нашим фанатам я хочу сказать спасибо вам за поддержку. Она очень сильно помогает нам. Благодаря ей мы играем все лучше и лучше. Следите за нами, мы будем показывать хорошие результаты.
Well, perfect. Thank you so much once again, Zerich, for joining me on this interview, and best of luck going into PMPL.
Спасибо большое.
Well, it looks like the strategy that MADBULLS had coming into this worked out.
Yeah, they said they're being confident, and they've proved it already in the first 4 days, and it's going to just keep on going. And they said it, they were a team about research and about preparation, and they came in fully prepared. They came out swinging right away with that 20 elimination day on day number 1, and they're not going to slow down. And the thing is, if there's any team right now, I feel would have a chance to dominate in a lobby against Turkish teams, especially S2G, the current world champions in PUBG Mobile Esports for 2022, I would have to say currently it looks like MADBULLS is the top contenders for that, because they're just so consistent, so aggressive. It would work so well in the lobby dominated by the Turkish squads. And PMWI, I mean, I would love to see what MADBULLS could do there up against all of these amazing teams out there. So yeah, I mean, it's been looking great so far. They're looking confident, and I do not think it's going to stop anytime soon.
Yeah, especially as we're heading towards the end of this first phase. Tomorrow is going to be that last day. We're going to have that game on Vikendi as well, which actually, Max, is going to be the first time that we're going to be having a look at it. So from a team like, okay, I can tell you're very happy. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen Vikendi like 2 years, okay? So I've been asking for it all the time. People said, oh, stop it, big copium, okay? He's asking for Vikendi. He's coming back. It's only once per phase, but I'll take it as a win in my books. W.
Yeah. Maybe MADBULLS will take that as a win in their books as well.
Maybe. I mean, you got some cool awards too to win on that one. So you got some extra prize money, some extra prize you can get. So we'll see who's going to be winning that one.
Yeah, that's quite a big goal to be working towards. But MADBULLS, because of that consistency, staying ahead in that leaderboard. I mean, it's one thing to have, you know, a chicken dinner and to have a couple of limbs in your pocket every single game. But the fact that the lowest limbs is 25 on their off day. Yeah, what can I say? Honestly, that is just consistency at its finest. We also have a head-to-head between Watson and Elise, where we can are going to be looking at that later, just to see a little bit more of that comparison. But speaking of Sanhok here, Max, we have 2 of those today, and we know that it's not the favorite map for a lot of these teams. But whereas, I mean, there we go. Team performances. I want to touch on KONINA Power this time around, specifically the fact that they've been going under the radar, but yet they still up on the top when it comes to some of the map performances.
Yeah, I mean, currently they're in 7th position. Middle of the pack is a really solid position to be in. Wasn't really sure how this roster was potentially going to work in practice going into PMPL. And we said it in the past, KONINA Power was a team name feared by many when it came to CIS/Europe region as a whole. And now they've kind of like lost of that glimmer that they had in the past. But as a whole, Sanhok, they're doing well. I would love to see a little bit more presence when it comes to Erangel and Miramar in particular. Doing well on only 33%. 0.3, repeating 3% of your map, should I say, is definitely going to be not enough if you want to go the entire strength, the entire length of this PMPL season. But as a whole, they do well when it comes to this map of Sanhok. They can try and get as many points as they can, but I would like to see if MADBULLS can still do well on that one, because their average on every battleground is absolutely mental.
Yeah.
I know we talk about MADBULLS a lot, but it's because it's MADBULLS just doing so well. They're just dominating this lobby, and it's just amazing to see.
I mean, no bias here, but I think even when we're looking at their performances on Sanhok, right, they are the first. They are on 1,162, whereas in terms of average damage, whereas KONINA Power is in 900, which, I mean, there is a little bit of a discrepancy in that regards on how they have been performing on these maps. And I think, again, it speaks quite a testament to how strong they are as a roster and how well they are playing together, because even the maps where some other teams are not failing, but struggling a little bit, when it comes to MADBULLS, they're more than happy to just chill and take it away again.
The thing that I've mentioned many times on MADBULLS, and I would like to see potentially teams learn from MADBULLS as much as possible, because the cool thing about, and this is what I think a lot of the original Western European teams like, is that they really struggled in the full season of last year when all the CIS teams came into Western Europe at the time, because that was a really rough transition and teams didn't have time to adapt as much as they would have liked. Now they've done all these scrims, they've truly like got used to this kind of lobby. A lot of the Western European teams play a lot better than they had in the past, like GameLord and SHOCKWAVE. The first 3 days, they played out of their minds. I don't remember seeing them play this well in a long time, especially SHOCKWAVE in particular. So the lobby as a whole, big level up from these guys, and I think that as the weeks go on, we're just going to see even better and better improvements from all of the squads, especially the squads that may be struggling a little bit at this point in time. But yeah, it's been a great PMPL so far, and we're only in the first phase. We still got 2 more after that, then the finals. It's so much cool action coming up.
Yeah, it's so much cool action, so many cool games. But are you ready for it? Have you gotten your monster for today, Max? Do you have your
time
favorite?
to go to the shop? I'll go. Hey, I live right above a shop right now with the sales monster. Okay, they're my personal shop where I go get it. Okay, they get me the good stuff, and I'll go get it later.
Okay, is it gonna be the white one again?
Yes, because otherwise it gets screened. But I like the Paradise one. That's a cool one.
The Paradise is really cool. I mean, again, Monster, thank you guys for sponsoring. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here today. And the energy is definitely something we need, because you're absolutely correct. We have a couple of phases left after tomorrow. And then we also have the finals. It's a lot of action. I think specifically this week, Max, the fact that out of 7 days, 6 have been game days. Is there potential of maybe fatigue creeping in on some of these players?
When you only have 1 break day, I think that it is possible. So I think teams can maybe just, I wouldn't say like slow down to some extent, but maybe don't like stress yourself too much over your results. Because phase one, if you're in the middle of the pack, you're still in a really good position. Don't forget, you only need to be in the top 16 to make it into the finals. But yeah, I think that for the teams that are really just at the top, continuously dominating, I mean, you're going to have 4-day break after that, right? And you're going to be able to just have a little bit of a chill time, potentially do some changes and some VOD review if needed. But it's okay. Time will tell for these teams how they're going to be able to adapt to that one. And even, hey, you know what? If you're a little bit too stressed in the games, do like MADBULLS. Just finish the game with a bunch of pans and try and pan an enemy team. That works out too if you want, but just enjoy your time in the lobby.
I mean, if it worked for MADBULL, it can work for us. But what are you doing in your break, Max? What are you going to be focusing on the 4-day break? VOD review?
I was gonna say I was gonna eat my spaghetti during the breaks between these games, but no, for the 4-day break, I'm gonna think of memes to post on social media. I got a few ideas. I got a few clutches, maybe some GOAT team stuff. Well, we'll see. Yeah.
Some of the clutches that we've seen yesterday have been absolutely phenomenal towards the end of the games. I mean, can we relive that moment? That would be great. But we're not going to be able to. But I'm sure, based off of what we've seen today is going to be just as, I want to say, explosive. It's going to be another banger coming our way. So, Max, is there a specific map or maybe a specific group that you're looking forward to the most in terms of their performances here today?
I feel like I still have to refer to Gladiators that has not been performing to the level we expected. I think everyone wanted to see Gladiators be this top 3 dominating super team that's just going to steamroll the rest of the squads in this lobby. Hasn't been the case so far, and I feel like there's been some good improvements overall as how the team approaches circles. They're not a team that is going to have the circle come in their way, it seems, because they like to play the edge, they like to sweep the edge of the circle, so teams that tend to play a lot more central if the circle comes their way. Gladiators might struggle a little bit, and I think that that's something that will hurt them quite a bit, but as a whole, they're still getting themselves some decent points in. As I said, middle of the table is still a good position to be in, but that average survival time, compared to your top teams that you're going to see them get 21, 22-minute average survival time, they're significantly behind. And what scares me the most is you're looking at, as one of their players here, with 16 minutes, 22 seconds average survival time. The rest of the team about 2-3 minutes above that. Which means they're not making it to the late game as a full team. And that is something that I referred on day 1, day 2. They just struggle to keep themselves alive as a full squad. If we can see them continuously and consistently make it to the late game with as many players as they potentially can in good positions and a lot of resources, I truly still believe Gladiators is a team that can get those dubs, can get those wins. But it's just been a little bit of a slow process for them right now. But they'll get there. You know, that's the thing about Gladiators. They might take a little bit of a slow start in these events, but once they build that momentum, they're just going to keep getting win after win after win.
I really like the fact that you're kind of bringing up like the slow start and then we're building our way into the event, right? But we do have to take into consideration that yes, they are sitting towards the middle of the table, but also phase 1 is very much closing in. But whether or not today is going to be the day that they are going to be showing up and getting some of these points, I guess we're going to be finding out, because we have once again John and Blank to be walking you guys through all the action, PUBGM, and next chicken dinner.
We've got the MADBULLS sat atop the table playing in this first match. Places 2 and 3 will be taking the bench for this first one. That's the MUERTE and GOAT team. And everybody else going to be looking to try and take home that chicken dinner.
Absolutely. I think that if you're MADBULLS right now here on Sanhok, starting the day off strong, this would be a good position to start getting up those big points, those big numbers, try and tear ahead, because we have seen from yesterday that a single team could get a bunch of points in just one day. Obviously, that kind of day is absolutely unheard of practically everywhere else in the world. 4 out of 4 chicken dinners, I was about to say, is not easily obtainable. It's not impossible to obtain. So I think what GOAT did yesterday was an absolute trouncing of the rest of the lobby, with also a little bit of smatterings of luck, because that is what it required to make that sort of thing happen. Obviously, heading over to Sanhok now. I believe we've got 2 of these today, which is always lovely to see. I'm saying time and time again now, Sanhok is now my favorite map, which it absolutely is. So much action, so much fun. It's an enjoyable map, John.
GOAT team got 75 points yesterday, over doubling their total from the previous 3 days in one fell swoop. So definitely a gauntlet thrown to the lobby. MADBULLS with a chance to open that lead a little bit further and try and stay away from the dogged pursuit of the GOATs as they head on up the mountain to the top.
Obviously, we have a few positions around the map at the moment that are notable, which we are seeing a fair amount of engagements happening in. GameLord dropping here quite frequently now in boot camp alongside of it. Excuse me, we'll leave this here just for the time being so we see exactly who does drop in this position and we can find out where to go from there. But the same while, we are seeing a fair few positions, for instance here, also down here, and just next to Quarry. They're becoming very, very important to a lot of these teams. Right now, we can start to see GameLord moving into this position from our little tiny image over here, which is always nice to see. I was like trying to get this arrow to work up here to show you, but we are having, excuse me, as well as GameLord taking the fight to one another. Now this is really hampering their chances massively, considering at least one of these teams does take massive casualties or at least take some damage before they're able to win it out versus the enemy squad. So it is interesting to see so far, John, they're continuing this kind of charade. But with 2 Sanhoks today, is this really the right decision? I don't know.
Circle yet to pop blank, yet to really see that one come on through. Northwest Island, fairly set in how the drops happen. Shockwave up north, but this circle pops south.
Absolutely. Now this is where we can start to see that, you know, actually VIRTUS.PRO's position is once again very, very important for themselves, picking up both the Confluence compound down towards the compounds that just cycle off to the western side here of Quarry. It does look like Purple, who is right on the outer edges over towards KASIK team at the moment, fighting out for the position, is in a little bit of trouble. There is one player from Sly Europe that's Reflect just towards the south side of this engagement as well. So Sly might want to move up from dockside and get involved on this, and they could clear a vast majority of the map towards the center side, which would make their lives very easy.
I feel like KASIK team almost don't want this engagement in some ways, but we're on into boot camp with Havlik getting a little bit of damage. It looks like without weapon against Robs, but managed to pick up one of those rifles, the bullpup, QBZ, for a little bit of a spray down. Has the UMP in the back pocket as well. And they're looking to run across. Havlik now close by. The auto shotgun in hand for as well. GameLord creating a nice little line of fire. They've already lost a player here, so have Excuse Me. So this is what you're talking about with just hampering each other and kind of destroying each other's chances on Sanhok.
Yeah, it's just not ideal really at this point in time, and I think for Sanhok, where it is an elimination-focused map as well, with GameLord finding the majority of their points through eliminations, it does feel somewhat redundant that they are throwing away one of the maps where they can get so much success through it. Already another player down there for GameLord. Not ideal, with not much chance of picking that player up either, so Robs as well as Victor will have to fight this one out as a duo as Akashi tries to move back in, but Havlik should be ready on the swipe there, yep.
Akashi goes down, Havlik gets the catch, but a nice angle from Rob, sees that there is some revenge, some retribution. However, GameLord have had their teammate flushed out. Robs as well in a sticky spot, moves up to the high ground, and a Molotov burns down another player from Excuse Me. 2 of them now down, and it's a 2 versus 1. Victor and Robs playing on the inside of the building, but Beck gets one. Fortunately, Victor is there for the refrag. And GameLord stay alive, but they only have 2, and they're not going to have a lot of time to play with now.
Yeah, it's very difficult. 4 eliminations, not too bad. I mean, you know, it's going to keep the point scoring upwards. It's not too awful, but again, you would want a little bit more out of Sanhok as opposed to just the 4 eliminations. And we know that teams that tend to go far inside of this lobby, the teams that are able to hang on to 3, 4 players towards that end game, there are so many sightlines you have to cover with little to cover to... So many sightlines you have to cover with little hard cover to make that happen. Goodness me, that's a bit confusing, complicated, but there you go. But that's generally how it happens because it's such a barren map. You need that extra player to play off the actual crossfires. Because a lot of times the only thing that's saving you from dying is another dude with a gun.
Elementrix nades in hand. ARR face off against KONINA Power. On the roll-up, this is the compound just to the west of Quarry. Elementrix walks straight into an aid. Fash first. Will fall. Wants to cook up another. Posting this through the door might just be right on the target here to get a second knock. A lot of damage found over onto Becca. Fash wants to capitalize, sends a teammate through. Habes just finds nothing with the auto shotty, and picked apart through the windows. Vash leads the charge. Again, you've got teammates for the refrag. Tapok, however, has been such a devastating force, and KONINA Power finding out just why he's been so annoying to the rest of the lobby. The DBS around the corner, only has one player left to handle. Still a couple of bullets left in the magazine. Swaps out to the M4, sprays, and not quite able to put the final nail in. KONINA Power wanted to get away with more there, but Palucci goes down, and they're going to have to take some time to res. VIRTUS.PRO are hot onto this third party.
You know what? KONINA Power did a very good job there, but again, it's Tapok. This guy is an absolute monster on the squad of AR, and I think that there was a fair few times there, you know, if the MS, or if it was a case of the game registered it, I feel like some of those DBS shots should have gone through. KONINA Power, though, very, very well aware that VIRTUS.PRO would be coming in from that western side after hearing this engagement. The fact that they weren't already on this one says a lot to KONINA Power, so immediately pick up a couple of knocks. Maybe elimination went through towards VIRTUS.PRO. I'm not quite sure as of yet. But either way, I think they pulled the trigger too early here.
I think literally everyone within a 1 kilometer radius has come in to have a look at this fight. VIRTUS.PRO thought, oh, we're going to get a sneaky third party. No, KASIK there. KASIK team took shots at them over the compound across the way and just completely tore VIRTUS.PRO apart. I mean, there are 2 players alive. Positions are known. KASIK descending the hillside to take control of this compound. There is no sanctuary for VIRTUS.PRO now. They've moved off strong compound yet again. This time it really is going to punish them as everybody steps out their way.
It has been very bad here. Now, Cave started to move in, like you say, looking for a bit of landmass to control. It is overall been a bad time for a lot of teams trying to fight around this area of Quarry. And again, it's not the most ideal of compounds at the end of the day, so I'm not sure why we are seeing so many people here. VIRTUS.PRO going down, 0 eliminations. What a disaster.
Not good. KONINA Power thought they'd escaped the third party, but KASIK team were there to take up the mantle. KASIK a little bit too far up the hill. They can involve themselves in this engagement in about 30 seconds, maybe even less than that, as KASIK team do have a little bit of a timer to tick away. Around the side, here's the DBS, good for one. Looks for a second in the corner, but not there. Is there a refrag? There will be indeed, and KONINA Power taken down. KASIK team managed to secure themselves this spot. They will be able to get these reses and stay alive on the inside with cover.
I mean, it's a nice position, but it's not that nice, you know? It's not incredible to the point that you are seeing teams, players crashing upon the rocks here. It is very, very awkward to watch this happen for me. And again, a lot of these angles of approach towards this location aren't ideal, and a lot of the positions you can take up after this position aren't ideal. So again, I think you hit the nail on the head there, John, is that people heard the engagement, heard the fighting, and they were so close to it, they all went in for that one. And we're going to take a quick look at the map right now, purely because, you know, if we're looking at this angle that most people would take down towards this position, you know, the issue is that all of everything here is so visible to all of these teams looking out that way, right? This is the big problem for a lot of these guys, is that there's little cover in that area. So if you come through after an engagement has started, like we saw VIRTUS.PRO, you're just going to get absolutely volleyed upon as you head through. So I don't know what exactly happened here, but I don't think it was the ideal approach.
You saw as well on that map, SHOCKWAVE actually moved over on the north side, so they've adjusted since yesterday's Sanhok, where they moved south to their trifecta compounds to come into contact with the Gladiators, and both of them kind of just slowed each other down, a la Game Lord and excuse me, and they kind of stopped each other from making their presence more impactful on the northwest side. Neither team now has had that conflict, so both of them on that northwestern side is going to change things up.
Absolutely. I think that when you're looking at this as well, some of these teams are towards that northwest side not having to deal with many of the teams as they like muddle through now. It's happy days. It's really opened a lot of space inside this lobby. And it'll be interesting to see what kind of rotations we see going forward, because we'll have to wait and see exactly where this circle does end up. But right now, Quarry is a large part of landmass that not a lot of teams want to play. So you have this area directly in the middle where we see most of these teams playing currently in this meta of a central-based lobby that they can't head there anymore. So it's going to cut off a lot of teams, and you'll start to see which teams are much better at this long-range engagements opposed to teams that really thrive under the pressure of just going for compound crashes, particularly because there's some massive high ground down towards where currently Avalanche are holding, and also Dark Project, KASIK, Cave will all have to shoot across the way versus one another. It's going to be a very interesting finish, John, and an exciting Sanhok to start off our day.
Unicorns of Love on the southwest side, taking up the ex-MADBULLS position. As Beast and Noshi mount the hillside to try and take a look over towards those quarry positions as well on the southwest side. Gladiators starting to move in on that western edge as well. Could move into a tricky spot, but there is some cover that they can navigate around. And remember, Game Lord are only 2 right now to move forwards into this game, despite holding a priority compound that is now going to start to get cut out.
Yeah, Gladiator is actually moving down towards this spot now. A circle hits up towards this eastern side. Really, really difficult now. And I think this is something we can maybe analyze in further detail very shortly, but at the moment it does make life very difficult over on that western side for a lot of these teams. Just getting through this one could mean a mad dash, but it's going to cut off a lot of these teams' options going forward, particularly Cave as well as KASIK, because most teams will be aware that these 2 compounds are held.
Difficult rotations for everyone on that western side. Quarry such a massive feature in this next circle. Teams will start to consider their options. Gladiators moving up the top of the hill, moving along this ridge line like a spine. They can dip left or right if they get fired upon by either angle. Either of which would be super safe, but now they can start to leverage this high ground and move their position, march forwards in towards the edge of this next circle on the northwest.
Yeah, on this northwest side, again, getting into position and leveraging it, as you say, John, that is going to be the bit that is going to be most difficult for these guys, because there are a few teams that are in an awkward spot. For instance, Dark Project over on this northeast side of Quarry, they can spot a lot of these rotations coming up on the north edge. For instance, Shockwave, Gladiators, Nexus coming through, and Avalanche is going to have the easiest of times taking shots down towards Unicorns of Love.
A little bit of a scuffle on the west side of Quarry. KASIK team, Cave, both coming into conflict. Cave moved up north and split 2 and 2, and will be suffering a little bit because of it. That res did manage to be pulled off here. And Avalanche trying to slow down on the southwest side against Unicorns of Love. Beast did get knocked already, but they're in a resable spot. They are enacting that res right now, and Unicorns of Love can start to move up this hill. There's really no one behind them as well to put a massive amount of pressure on them, so Avalanche are just going to have to bear the full brunt of this push.
Again, with the high ground this affords them, though, Unicorns of Love moving up to this position is going to be difficult. This is one of the game-winning spots on the map, honestly, John. It's one of these spots that if the circle heads down towards you, it's very difficult to remove a team from up there and win against them. Luckily for a lot of these teams in the lobby, though, that's down towards that south side. So making their way across towards maybe a separate compound that's going to provide them a little more cover is a bit easier. You can see a lot of these teams just haven't moved either, John. A lot of these teams up towards that northwest side, comfortable to just sit on the edges because they do not want to get involved over towards the side of east of Quarry, where there's a lot of teams already holding, ready and raring to take them to pieces as they try and cross in.
Cave have managed to hold this 2-2 split, and that is a devilish shift. Keeps a lot of that Quarry in blank, and Dark Project slap bang in the middle. High priority.
I do really like Cave's decision earlier on, is that they failed a little bit versus the KASIK push, but instead just tried to get ahead of KASIK as soon as they saw that circle. And now KASIK have been pushed out towards this very much western edge. In the meantime, I think Unicorns of Love have been too easily let up towards this spot.
Avalanche were not able to suppress this push at the start, and look at this, Avalanche just coming apart. Noshi does go down, but with PNL already getting flushed, they are severely diminished, but there's a corner, and if you hold it, you've got the DBS close range as well. That's going to be tearing through Zero's health bar, finally able to get that answer. Beast will suppress as Sly Europe enter the fray. I said there wasn't a potential from third party from behind. What about from the east? It is going to come through from Sly Europe, and Unicorns of Love are left flagging. Only CJ from Avalanche left standing as well, and Sly Europe pick up all of the pieces here. Victor left behind them, may be able to slither in undetected and get sorted in amongst the troops of Sly Europe, but I imagine it's only a matter of time before they clean up this compound.
Only a matter of time now, John. Quite easily done, too. I think Sly Europe has been on the edge of a lot of these compounds for quite a while. Wait to see which one they could get involved on, because they almost got involved on the VIRTUS.PRO push. They almost got involved on the cave push, but opted to swing down towards that southeast side and finally found some success from that. 7 eliminations, great stuff from Sly Europe. Victor now makes his way in, see what we can do from there. But like you said before, Dark Project with an extremely good compound towards the center here, covered on that western edge too because of Quarry and giving them great sightlines down towards that position, with Latte and Ivaneska, two of their strongest players on the outside edge, protecting them from anyone getting too close. This is looking like a real good game there for the guys from Dark Project.
MADBULLS as well on this eastern side. You never count the MADBULLS out. The rundown attempt coming through from Fleek. They were a little bit overzealous, I think, on another game. Actually, I think that might have been from MUERTE, but they are going to roll up with the buggy. Fleek gets the first knock, turns around with the DBS. And the MADBULLS, sure, Frozen did go down, but Dagestan can't capitalize on this push. They can't move through, and Frozen is already a target for a res from Zerach. You can see that maneuver happening now.
The question is really on my mind is, obviously we've seen MADBULLS been getting into the late game of these games each time, but it's been a very quiet game for them overall, over on this side of the map. Currently with 4 players still up, a terrifying prospect to say the least. Dark Project will come into contact with maybe a couple of these teams sooner or later, but for the time being, still looking extremely good.
Shots from Nexus. Need some resurgence from yesterday as Shockwave crashed straight on into them. 2 teams vying for higher on up the table. Shockwave have had a little bit worse luck as Nexus fell off a little bit later, but this time around, Nexus keep it together and Shockwave are the ones to take the knee. It's a good start. We haven't seen this performance from them in yesterday's games, so to have it come back today, great news, but that northern side is going to be hairy.
Yeah, the northern side's going to be very, very difficult. Now, Cave has literally set themselves up this entire time to deal with KASIK as they come in from the western side. It's working out very well. This was the long play, right? This was the end game play. I love it. They invested in their future in the circles. Gladiators also now pushing in towards Dark Project's position. No one else getting too involved, but Kapahala just testing the waters in front of them as Latte is left as a solo player to defend that eastern compound.
Tsune down, close by Ivaneska. Smatic nearly had a challenge there, but unfortunately goes down to a nade. Nicely projected there by the Dark Project squad. Gladiators are just getting caught time and time again now. Just Meku left standing. Molotov in the window to stop that close range push. Kitsune around the corner, but Meku is struggling here. Caught on the inside in the tiny little cupboard room of the building. Last player standing for Gladiators on the northern side. Can teams capitalize on this position from Dark Project? Needed to go for those reses. Finally, Meku goes down. Frozen once more re-knocked. Nexus is sidling up to the engagement.
Nexus moving up just slightly. MADBULLS taking a few casualties there, down to just 1. Keme moves forward, looks like a nice-ish nade, not going to get the knock, but will do a little bit of damage their way. Luckily for the MADBULLS, Zerich is already flinging them back.
Oh, Octavian just managed to go underneath the radar there, maybe unsuspecting that there's a player there, but unfortunately Dark Project have the backstop. And Kapahala now, last player standing for Nexus. MADBULLS will need to move further to that western side. Losing Frozen, though, going to be pretty devastating for their sightline coverage in these next circles. Dark Project weather the storm on the north. Cave stay alive with their backs to the quarry. And MADBULLS with 3 can move along this high ground.
Dark Project still with 4 players. An incredible feat, to say the least, for Dark Project to get this far into the game and remain at 4. Though we've seen this before, honestly. Me, Janira, both going for Cave. You and Max both going for MADBULLS. But I remember a game where we saw Dark Project, MADBULLS, both on one side, absolutely tearing one another to pieces, with Cave actually coming out on top with the chicken dinner. We'll see if that comes to pass here, or have MADBULLS learnt their lesson as they start swinging down towards this south side, placing themselves in direct contest with the guys from Cave.
Well, here's the thing, right? MADBULLS have the outside control. Dark Project are in compound. Sure, they've got a sliver, a foot, a toe in this next zone, right? But MADBULLS have so much more maneuverability. Cave or Dark Project can't really break out forwards because they're going to take shots at each other. So MADBULLS might be able to leverage that power. Reflect, not been spotted yet. Tulika there. Isn't going to see it. He's out in the blue zone trying to out-heal it. Is it going to come through in time? No, it's not. Reflect falls. That southeast side just got a little bit more clear of the snakes.
But lads, you can't heal off anymore. It's just not a possibility. Influence does spot Tulika, does a lot of damage there, and then starts to move back. And Cave can regroup on top of Moreau's there. So a good position for him, currently holding it down, but I think Cave would like to remove the guys from MADBULLS first, who will have to leave this building down to open ground. He said it gave them flexibility, but what it doesn't give them is a lot of cover going forward. This was always going to be a difficulty for MADBULLS, and the split between Dark Project and Cave is going to cause the biggest problem because they'll get crossfired from both edges.
Unicorn spotted on the roadside. Influence cleans that up. So 3 teams remain. Cave are going to cut their sightlines off towards MADBULLS in order to make this rotation. The question is who moves first? Are they going to be able to suppress that line before they have to move themselves? Shots over towards Serich, spotted out by Cave, and that is really, really valuable. Dark Project are absolutely dominating the northern side of this circle, and it's kind of gone topsy-turvy here. Cave will struggle as well with Dimension going down. Dark Project have this wrapped up.
Yeah, I mean, Dark Project just looked so incredibly strong. What a game from them so far. I should have stuck with my original prediction. What an idiot.
I saw that.
I had a little I gave it like 5 seconds of thought, and I was like, maybe I'll go the other way. But I mean, Dark Project completely deserved this win, and they deserve to prove me wrong as well. There was like 4 teams on that side. They shouldn't have come out alive, and it's just down to pure skill and the ability to play these really difficult circles. They've actually been able to come out on top. So if they take this win, it'll be one hell of a win for them, and they can go home feeling very proud about this. When there were a lot of wins yesterday that felt it was more down to luck than anything, but right now, Dark Project, they've forced themselves into a chicken dinner.
Oh, Wait has been spotted by Creepy. A cheeky little off angle, could get a knock. Wait does go down, but Creepy falls, and now with 2 players, actually only 1 player there, as there was a flush coming through. Hang on a minute, Influence is alive. The health bar was invisible. Even Eska, they don't know about it. He's going to try and light it up in the smoke. They know he's in there now, but he hits the drop shot, looks for the spray. Even Eska will be on the ground still, and we'll be able to bite the ankles out underneath them. Just Influence remains as 1 shot with the auto shot. He's good, but it's not going to be good for any more. Dark Project do, with a little bit of a hair-raising final fight, win out the chicken dinner.
Realistically, it should have been the fact that Influence was able to find that knock and find that elimination, but kind of crazy that we did see Wait actually able to get around that side and do so much work. Shouldn't have happened in the first place, but I think Dark Project were feeling good about themselves. Now, I would not be surprised because I didn't quite get a good look at Dark Project's elimination count in that game, but it must have been high. The amount of teams that they had to cut through was gigantic.
Well, pretty chaotic final circle there, but I felt like really quite disciplined, and the right teams did make it all the way through to the end, given their players over the course of the game. Great stuff, and a good way to kick off day number 5.
Well, Dark Project have done it. I don't think so far, Max. It's the team that we've seen actually been the ones to get that chicken dinner, and what a way for them to actually secure it.
Yeah, they had a decent start at the start of the phase. They got a little bit silent as of recent times, but I mean, at the end of the day, this game, they probably moved like 50 meters and then they just chilled in that compound on the east of Quarry, so they were just chilling that entire time in that game. But they were able to just deny a lot of pushes from teams coming around them. That's why they got themselves 11 eliminations on this game. There's a lot of teams trying to get close, and they were just trying to create that space, kind of like Law from One Piece, just that room, and if you get in, you're just chopped to pieces. So Dark Project overall defending their position down to a T. That push though, Janiro, I gotta say, did scare me. They send Wake to the side. He got knocked. He cannot get res because then you got to spend a lot of time and resources to get him back up. And then they start pushing Cave one by one. There's a world where this goes very wrong. It almost did go very wrong there, but luckily enough, they were able to overwhelm the opposition with the DBS at the end. But it got a bit spooky at the end.
Yeah, but that world is not the world that we live in today,
True.
right? Because they actually get the chicken dinner, they get their elimination points, they get the placement points, and it was actually looking really solid for a while there for Cave and also for MADBULLS, and those are actually the predictions that As Talent went with. So, Dark Project, you want to say the dark horse of this, or?
I mean, not really. In the central position like that, it's kind of a given because Cave absolutely... sorry, not Cave, I mean Quarry. The position Quarry. Quarry absolutely sucks as a location on this map and is just such a rough position to go on. But if you're there early, you can just deny a lot of teams' rotations into it, which is why you're seeing Dark Project and in this case also Cave doing so well when it comes to denying teams to get close because you have no good hiding spots. Or you have to cross through Quarry itself, or you've got to go downhill. That's what happened to MADBULLS, and you saw that Cave, with the angles they had on Dark Project's position, they could deny every single other team, try to make it a little bit too late inside of Quarry. So, yeah, Cave overall good presence, even though they did scare me a bit at some point. They had this massive 2-2 split across Quarry. I think you had Influence and Creepy on the eastern side and Otmoros and Dimension on the west side. I have no clue how they were allowed to regroup without getting punished by any team. But luckily enough for them, they made it back as a 4-man team inside Quarry, and then it was just pretty much easy for them to hold it down until they had to cross the road. But yeah, I mean, two teams, do you know, can be a little bit topsy-turvy, but Cave and Dark Project put on the clinic in Quarry here.
Yeah, absolutely. MADBULLS as well, though, staying that consistency, making sure that they're still in that top 3, adding even more points to the tally that they already have. So for now, they're sitting very comfortably as still on the top. But as well, when we're looking at this game specifically, Cave, I mean, starting off strong, and you did mention they did split up eventually, but they found their way back together, and that's a good thing, you know, power of friendship.
How friendship, yeah, it worked out great. The redemption arc is here. They're able to get himself overall some strong positions, and that's the thing. Looking at MADBULLS, they're like, wait, we don't really want to go in Quarry, but when these late game circles actually end in Quarry itself, or on the roads around Quarry, which is what happened here, you're pretty much done and dusted. Not much you can do. And this is the push that I said really scared me. They just went one by one. Ivan Escat got away with, I think, the last 1 or 2 bullets in his clip to actually get that knock. Otherwise, I think that is their fight lost if he does not get that knock. And it worked out at the end, but it was a weird push, but it worked out, I guess. So, yeah, GG.
That's all that matters. But also, they did a lot of damage. Tons of damage, really, this game. Specifically, Cave coming out on top with 2,311 limbs to their name as well. I mean, Dark Project, maybe not that much damage, but the limbs are in the bag, nonetheless.
Yeah, limbs in the bag indeed. One team actually we haven't talked about too much, but I feel like these past 2 days have been steadily improving and are like in the shadows and ready to strike at any time. Is actually Sly Europe. Like we saw yesterday on Erangel in particular, their team that is at least seems like now they're willing to go for third parties, play a lot more aggressive on their rotations. And here I think they third-partied another fight on the southern edge, which I think it was Avalanche versus Unicorns of Love, and they just like, okay, that fight happened. We're not in a good position. We're just going to third-party it. Not only are we going to get eliminations off the back of that third party, we're also going to get a decent entry point in the circle. Sure, after that, they don't go much further because they have to make it through a valley, through a roadside. That doesn't really work out on Sanhok, especially next to Quarry, where teams already have their locations locked down. But Slayer seems like has been slowly improving over time, so I can't wait to see what this team can bring to the table maybe in phase 2 if they keep improving at this pace.
Yeah, improving consistently. That's definitely the story we're seeing here from Dark Project, but a lot of other teams as well. But, I mean, we had some predictions, and you can very clearly tell none of us actually expected Dark Project to be the ones to come out on top. We were like, yes, it's gonna be MADBULLS. Yes, it's gonna be Cave. Both of these teams have been performing so well this map so far, and Dark Project just took a swing at all of our predictions, but also at the game. But congratulations to them, because they do have that chicken dinner now, which is going to give them extra points on top of the elimination, and all of that as well is going to be impacting the overall rankings, because with points secured in the bag for every single one of the teams that have participated, Cave are now sitting on 8.
Yeah, KF are able to just jump up on the first page. KONINA still going to be remaining up there. There's some teams that I could talk about, like your Game Lord. I don't like that drop inside of boot camp on Sanhok is just not working out. In this case, sure, you might be saying, but Max, they got 4 eliminations on top of the opposing team that was in there. Yeah, Max, what the hell are you talking about, you weirdo? I know I'm a weirdo, but also my point is they still lost 2 players. Did they make it far in this game? No, they didn't. That's the answer, because they only had 2 players from the very word go in this match. These drops don't make sense, the same as Picardo we have between Excuse Me and also the side of KASIK team in Miramar. I just don't want to see them happening anymore, but it doesn't matter what I say, it's going to keep happening. So I'm going to give up at some point. I'm just not going to bring it up anymore because it's just going to keep happening every time.
Never gonna give up. Major Pride, though, I mean, the next map that we're going to be going into here, Max, is going to be Erangel. And Major Pride is one of the teams that we had some expectations for coming into this, and it feels like they're hovering more now towards the lower side of the rankings, which is a little bit of a concerning position to be in.
Yeah, it's a little bit unfortunate to be right now. He's still got a lot of matches remaining at the end of the day. He's still got 2 more phases.
I love the optimism.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if we were in phase 3, I might be like, okay, maybe it's too late. Maybe you messed up a little bit too much, but it's phase 1, and we're going to have a 4-day break. The one that you mentioned, right? Having that 4-day break is going to be really refreshing for these teams to be able to just not think about PUBG Mobile maybe for a day or 2 and then go back to watching the VODs. Exactly. Touch some grass a little bit, maybe if you're a little bit lucky. If you got, I'm hoping that happens regardless if you have play days or not. But okay, I'm going to be very optimistic on that point.
That's a good thing.
But I think that could be helpful for the teams and for that team in particular.
Yeah, I think as well, having that 4-day break, as you mentioned yourself, just getting a little bit out of that headspace of go, 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 being stuck into that competition, not having a lot of time to go back, watch the VODs, what went wrong, what went right, where did what team drop, can we avoid hot drops, can we just not maybe, you know, contest certain areas. That's going to be quite a useful position to be in, and just having that opportunity to focus a little bit more on other things. I mean, we're talking about playing games competitively just as much as it's important to be stuck into the game, stuck into the competition, making sure that you're continuously training, you're doing your VOD reviews. It's also a little important to, you know, have some sunlight, go for a little walk, as you said it yourself, Max, touch some grass. So my question to you is, when's the last time you touched grass?
Well, actually, let me think about this. When did I touch grass last time? I can't remember. When was it? Well,
Wow. Well, while you think about that, we're going to have a look at the beautiful new skins that have just dropped, because we're both unlucky and we're not going to get them, but who knows? You might be rocking these for anytime soon. Great skins, but let's go back to that grass discussion here. As beautiful as these skins are and as great as they look in game, I think, you know, going back to discussion and hearing from John that he has about 3 inches of grass on his desk, I think that's really smart, because if you have a plant, you can just touch it. And then there you go, you touch grass, Max. So
I wish I could do that. My plants, unfortunately, are all plastic because I had a cactus and it died. So I cannot be trusted with plants or anything. So yeah,
well, at least you can be trusted. At least you can be trusted with the socials, where you're also running the giveaway. So just giving that a shout out as well, in case you guys are wondering. Max, how does this giveaway work? What are you giving away?
Giving away some cool skins, got some nade skins, got some full outfits, you got also a parachute skin, and actually we have the first giveaway winner. Do we give it away now? Do we say the name now? Do we do it now, or
drum roll, please? Drum roll.
We're gonna be doing now. So the first giveaway winner that was pulled at random is iOS_cyborg or U7cyborg over on Instagram. I saw the DMs are open, so we'll reach out to you after the show today. But we said also that Janiro, you'll be able to pick through a number the winner of the next giveaway, and you got to pick a number between 1 and 96. So I'll ask you, which number will you go with?
96.
You're going with number 96?
69.
Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, cool. Thank you. So I am going to go there, and I'm going to scroll to number Let me give
Okay, give it some time. This is like, you're like ruining the hype, the build up.
I had to scroll. It's a big number.
He's
Wait a second.
scrolling, but once he finishes scrolling, we will know which player wins the giveaway.
Johan_X10 wins.
Woo! Congratulations, Johan.
And the cool thing is that you can pick whichever of these skins you want. You want the nade, you want the parachute, you want the full fashion set. You can tell us in the DM which one you want, and we'll send you the code for that respective skin. So congratulations for the win on that skin.
You know, Max, you're being nice today. That's actually really kind of you to be giving away some of these skins and making people happy. How does it feel having, that power to make people happy?
Look, I think you're giving me undeserved praise because I asked if I could redeem the skins all for myself on my account and my alts, but they said no.
I mean, this is why. I mean, you're right. You cannot be trusted with anything, but at least you can be trusted with PUBG Mobile analysis because some of the points that you've been making have been quite interesting. The next map that we're going to be going on is Erangel. So, is there anything that you do not, in any way, shape, or form, want to see from these teams?
I mean, there's no hot drops, so I can't really talk about hot drops.
Yeah, I know you don't like those.
I mean, early fights, the typical stuff, the typical shebang. But one thing that I do not want to see is Major Pride going out early. I want to see them go back to their glory days of day number 3. That was their best day by far for Major Pride, and we said they're improving slowly but surely, but they've been a little bit more silent when it comes to yesterday's matches. Well, I mean, it was a GOAT team day all around, so it was hard to make a presence there. But I want to see Major Pride just keep going on that improvement we saw on day number 3. So I think that so one thing I don't want to see then is Major Pride going out early. There you go.
What about when we're talking about Shockwave? I mean, I know that's your favorite team. I know.
Not biased. Okay. I mean, Shockwave, unfortunate breach on the last game. They got breached up by NEXUS, so it's a little bit of an L on that one. But at the end, they're still trying to play as aggressive as they can. I would still like to see them play the same way they were doing in Phase 1, but this last day and then the start today has been a little bit rough for them, and they got double Sanhok, which we know is not the battleground on which they perform the best. So just it's okay. No, I like the boys. I trust the boys, the homies. They'll get there eventually. It was just a rough little start, and Game Lord will still get himself a few points in. So yeah, I trust in the French lads. The French Revolution slowed down a little bit, but still on.
Yeah, well, we're going to be heading over to our casters, John and Blank, as they're going to be taking us through Erangel to see whether or not the French Revolution is on their way, but also what team comes out on top.
We're going to be heading into match number 2 to see if the French can take the task. We're looking at as well at GOAT Team's first performance today, so we'll be seeing if they can keep things up.
Don't you do it! Don't you do the 4-piece again, okay, please?
Stop that.
Stop it! Stop it right now. We need other people taking these chicken dinners, all right? I'll pull out the finger wag as many times as I need to, but you've got to relent, because it's been relentless from these lads so far. So I think that there are a few teams that I'd like to see do well today, and I think Major Pride is definitely one of them. Max mentioned that. I think that's a very reasonable one. Shockwave not playing in this match at the moment, so the Revolution only on for one team in particular, and that is Game Lord. So we will see if Game Lord can actually pull something better out of the bag here. On Sanhok, this hot drop is not really working out for them, as Max identified, and I think I'd like to see maybe that stop. There is a lot of other things that can be brought into this one. On Sanhok in particular, there's a lot of different drop spots, but here at Erangel, Yasnaya, proud home of the Game Lord boys. Let's see what they can get done.
South Plane, hard cut there. Melter power underneath it, all the way to Primorsk. So we've seen a plane sort of like this before, Blank, and it does create conflict around going for those vehicles.
Massively. It is a really horrible position to be in. Obviously, we know that the guys from Major Pride will be heading down here towards Novorepnoye, but most of the teams will have to branch themselves out across this path to grab themselves some vehicles, maybe start heading up towards this northern side towards Yasnaya. There's also particularly a long rotation you can make up towards North George too, so that is also possible. But a lot of the teams that drop down towards the actual Sosnovka military base, oh goodness me, that's crazy. A lot of the players that drop down towards Sosnovka military base will have to deal with these particular crossings as well on the west and east bridge. I was taken aback just how large I could make those circles in that moment. But yeah, again, we did see a huge amount of times over on these directions of the map, large amounts of teams actually taking casualties as they move through these positions. And with this playing path being some of the cruelest before, we're more than likely going to see a lot of teams start to fall early on.
Where are these conflicts going to develop? You can see GameLord actually dropping pretty close to Avalanche's position right now. A hard northwest circle. This does allow teams to commit to going to a rotation to places like Georgia-PRO though playing, because you can just invest in getting there and you know the circle will be on top of you. Yasnaya also much more viable, even up to Kameshki, because those rotations will be shorter on the northward throws.
Yeah, I think that Kameshki, you can move all the way around the outside of this one, which gets you into a fairly decent position over on that side of the map, and getting over towards Severny down to shooting range, obviously a position you can head towards. Severny very much open as well, so this rotation over that northern side is a lot more simple, purely because we don't have Shockwave in the game, which makes life very easy for any team that does want to make that rotation, particularly GameLord. If they want to head up towards Yasnaya, they can move over towards Yas Bridge to shooting range, but it looks like they've actually instead opted for this little split down the side of Potato Hill on the eastern edge, which is interesting to me. MADBULLS quite careful in their approach up towards Rozhok. I think it was yesterday that they had a lot of teams approaching Rozhok side, as many different teams hadn't quite figured out their drop spots, or at least their secondary drop spots, so were forced to just head towards Rozhok, in which case MADBULLS like, no, we own this location, you're meant to be intimidated, to which the answer was, we don't know where else to go.
We've got to be here. We're coming. I don't know what to tell you. I'm also on the map, I'm looking at Gladiators. Last time, and in fact the only time that Gladiators have gotten a chicken dinner so far this tournament, it was when they were forced to go for this alternate Erangel drop spot on the south side. So, will we see a second performance of that? Because they have gone for that drop again. Avalanche being sprayed down, GameLord in an engagement that this time around they definitely have got the top-notch position on compared to last time around over in the boot camp of Sanhok. GameLord absolutely in control of this engagement, and Avalanche likely losing 2 here.
Yeah, I think for GameLord, this is a nice little adjustment for themselves, considering that, you know, when they've made this rotation up towards Yasnaya before, they have oftentimes been very much caught out by separate teams all hampering that rotation. This time around, they look to gather some vehicles, gather a couple of weapons, and instead clear out some teams that might be also in a similar scenario, which is little to no gear on board. If they can pick on them, find themselves a bit of open ground they then can call their own, moving up to Yasnaya becomes a lot easier because there's less teams rotating alongside you. Sly Europe also is a bit of a problem, but not so much anymore. It feels like they have kind of rendezvoused over towards the southwest side of Mansion, which makes their life a little bit more simple, but also now GameLord can just rotate through with little to no issues. So overall, a very good start for GameLord on this game, despite the playing path really not supporting their original drop spot up towards Yasnaya.
This is a very, very quick rotation from Cave coming through from Sosnovka military base to get through. This is during the looting phase, and generally you won't see a bridge camp until about a minute or 2 after now. So Cave taking that opportunity to move and send for the center of the circle. They will be low on loot. You saw no meds on board there for one of their players, but they can get forwards. The question is, do they run into trouble? Because they're sending straight into ARR territory right now as they head just to the east of Gatka.
It's a very fair rotation, to be honest with you, because although a lot of people assume that, you know, with that southern rotation, it really ruins the day of a lot of these teams that would like to drop over towards that north side, but it equally does ruin the day of anyone that drops down towards Sosnovka, because suddenly you have a situation where you are no longer as confident getting over those bridges back onto the mainland, purely because the amount of actual compounds been taken up on the center island is much larger than before. Right now, there is not a single team towards Zaki, shooting range, Severny, Stalber, Kameshki, not a single team. They're all down here. So Cave makes this executive decision that, look, most of the compounds are going right now. It's an auction for the center island compounds, and they are zooming off the shelves. So we need to find ourselves one and be part of the conversation. So really do respect that position, that push from Cave, setting themselves all the way up towards that eastern side of Georgia-PRO crates, and this should pay dividends in the future.
VIRTUS.PRO creating a line of fire to scout out, choose their directions moving forwards, playing solid on the convoy. Let's move through fairly uncontested right now. The northern side of Potato Hill, they opted rotational path, generally very standard. 4 teams playing down on that southeast side, especially on these western circles. Ruins completely open. You've got actually the compounds just to the southwest of school, south of Rozhok, that are still in reach of the players. This is okay. So this is how GameLord managed to get these 2 players out. It is just an unfortunate topple and a vehicle flip coming through that will see Avalanche completely torn in half.
Yeah, I think they assumed the vehicle would get back up on its feet quicker than it did. Unfortunately, it was like a beached whale there. In which case, obviously, GameLord were very happy to just send bullets into it, and I think Avalanche makes the decision a little bit too late to actually just get out. It's a hard decision to make either way, because it's like, if we get out now, we're just in the open. If we try and wait for the vehicle to right itself, maybe we can get away. It's a tough decision to make either side of that coin. So I think for Avalanche, you know, an unlucky start for them, but that is made possible by the fact that GameLord decides not to make this hasty rotation up towards Yasnar in the first place. So quite opportunistic from their side of things. So thumbs up, GameLord, thumbs up.
Ooh, how many thumbs up?
I gave him 2 thumbs up. I gave him the maximum amount of thumbs up.
That's pretty cool. I can lend you an extra thumb or 2 if you need help in giving more thumbs in the future, but 2 thumbs up, very good to be getting on with GameLord.
I think I'd need 4 thumbs up for the Dark Project play last game, okay. But only 2 thumbs up for GameLord here. I'd say it was like, you know, I'm going to put this thumb horizontal, so it's like thumbs up and a half.
Isn't that thumb up and a half? I don't know. I feel like the technicalities here really need some thought. I don't think you've given this enough thought, Blank.
Thumb up and a half. There you go.
Thumb up and a half. All right. Sly Europe taking a knock there. MADBULLS stymieing this position and rotation, getting a knock and a flush over towards Mandarin. Sly Europe diminished now, down to 3. It looks like Buggy Tires.
He's given up.
Bursted out, Reflect. Getting rolled up on as well. A crash out in the field. Yeah, Sly Europe having a tough time of it. Circle Pop, very far out west bank. Keeps Everest in it and a lot of George Pole.
Yeah, and Cave's extremely happy with their rotation now. It's a really, really good rotation from them. Gets them towards the box compound. There's a little bit of looting there. Realizes there's absolutely no one in North George. Again, we have to remember, this is not a case of, you know, heading towards North George late and it's like, oh, it's been picked to pieces. This is an unlooted North George. Right now, Cave has looted Sosnovka, they've moved the box compound, looted there, and now they're having the entirety of North George themselves. They are going to be absolutely stacked when it comes to gear, and also maintaining a large portion of that northern side of the circle as well for themselves. Great news for them. I like that play from MADBULLS, John, honestly. I did like that MADBULLS play because a lot of times they were assaulted from that eastern side. So, in this time around, they go, right, let's move out east. Let's deal with the team that's looking to ruin our day in Rozhok.
Looking at the teams moving into South George, you've got VIRTUS.PRO in the crates cave with an outpost there as well. It looks like they do want to move further south. Sly Europe are moving over the top of Everest, but remember, they are down to 2 players. Even further in than that, you still got a couple of teams as well. Excuse Me hold the majority of South George. Look at that wide split being held right now by all 4 of their players. 2 towards the bridge, Havlik down southwest, Black towards the southeast near Hospital, and KASIK team and KONINA Power coming into conflict on the south. Oh, it's ARR, sorry.
Habez moves up. That is a bold med kit. I'd say that right now, but Habez with the DBS takes a little bit of damage. Zingish tries to finish off the job. We've seen him do clutch things before. Unfortunately, Tapok is there with the DBS. An absolute monstrous sight to come in contact with. Last player, KASIK.
Not quite able to finally find the final nail. KASIK around the side does get the knock onto 1 more. And ARR now left with a sliver of HP, and KASIK is able to turn it around in a 1 versus 2. Gives them the dance around. Lose Inga, sure, but stay alive as 3 in a really solid defensible spot here for this next circle.
Yeah, really, really nicely done, actually. The fact that the rest of the KASIK team, instead of opting to go for, you know, that idea of, you know, you wander around, you crawl around, you try and provide that information back, they're like, look, either you win this one or you don't, mate. We need you to win it. In the meantime, we're just going to go huddle up, hide, and hopefully get back up to 3. On the position they're currently in as well, it makes total sense because you really want to maintain as many players as you can in this position. You're near the center. Being on the outside, I can understand why they'd want to go for maybe some crawl out, try and get some information, provide it back to their teammate. But being here in the center, they have to put much more priority on living and survival so that they can maintain presence in these next couple of minutes. This is a horrible circle, John. Really nasty one to play on. George Bridge is in play, but ours is so much water, and it becomes very clustered. A real struggle bus of a situation because not only that, no one's going to be moving up towards Everest other than trying to make some scouting happen. It's obviously going to be locked out sooner rather than later, so most teams looking to get some positions on the coastal side in Crate towards North George perhaps.
Major Pride ahead of this engagement between Nexus and MUERTE on the southeast side. Still the top of Everest is involved, but Major Pride will be mantling that one soon. Discrim takes some damage, but it is going to be healable. Has got plenty of first aid. That one's not going to be, though. Doran with a side swipe. Easy pickings there. Octavian did get rezzed there. We're still at stage 3, so the blue zone is rezzable in. MUERTE are down to 3. Nexus, good news for them. They had a little bit of a good showing in that Sanhok as well. They won 1 or 2 engagements that we haven't really seen from them previously. Can they keep that resurgence going?
And for Nexus, a little bit further into that last game is always ideal, but they still can't quite figure out this idea of breaking through into the circle. It feels like a lot of times if they're in a good spot, they can start to play from there, find themselves some good presence, start to intimidate some of the other teams as they come in. But when it comes to the case of having a battering ram to get in from the outside, it is the worst battering ram in the world. The front of it is just covered in pillows and it's knocking down anything. It's going to be difficult. So I think for Nexus right now, they need to figure out how they're going to slice their way into a lot of these circles, John.
Major Pride, top of Everest, can spot out MUERTE. Looks like Nomi has the sight lines over towards it. 3 players in this vehicle, all 3 in fact. So if it goes up in smoke, that is going to be all of them going down. You imagine they don't want to let that happen. Spotted by Nomi. Opens up on the broadside. Not going to be able to land too many shots at all there. Damage to the vehicle, sure. But MUERTE over the hillside and out of the woods.
MUERTE have been a little bit quiet recently, John, more than anything. So I think that for them, I'd like to see a little bit more from this game because there's been other teams that really have come out on top. And this is what I'm talking about. The battering ram is pretty much useless from the side of Nexus. Already losing 1 player. Now, you might think to yourself, oh, well, they've got 2 knocks. This is versus Team Doom. Honestly, right now, the quote-unquote worst team in the lobby. I know that they're very good to have got here towards PMPL, but they are performing at the very bottom at the moment, John.
Yeah, there's no denying that, unfortunately. Nexus do just about have the inside track to the circle, but Octavia goes down and Kemi's already lit up and they're in the blue zone. That's Nexus down and out. Doom can, I think they've just hit that zone 4. If they're close enough to the circle, they can carry in and try and move in to get that res, but I just don't think it's going to be possible here. Yeah, another one falls and Team Doom, they need to cut their losses and move in with 1.
Another one bites the dust again there, John. I think for Team Doom, this may have been a good position to move out from. Unfortunately, Nexus did roll up. There's a very long rotation coming through from Nexus as well. If you notice in that early game, they were actually rotating in from the very far east and doing it for a long, long while, trying to stay out of the action. But again, I'll relay back to Cave's rotation from Sosnovka. They realized that they absolutely had to make that rotate there and then if they wanted to have a prominent position towards the end game. And that's what they did. So now they have a position over towards Crate side. Unfortunately, are having to contend with the likes of MADBULLS, currently off towards their east. A bit of a difficult team to deal with. However, Cave do have that inside track that you were talking about earlier with Nexus, but now is applied to here, Cave versus MADBULLS.
Game Lord have swung all the way up to the north. They're crossing the bridge right now with Narvalo. A slide, it's a solo, it's going to get not going to flush over towards a VIRTUS.PRO player. 2 players alive for them. Should be able to hop out for at least 1 more. There's the nade. They will take it down, but they lose a player on the east side. Game Lord, so Game Lord have moved up to the northern side. They've left Narvalo on that bridge. But with the circle shifting out of North George, they are going to have to figure out a rotational path because Dark Project hold the mouth of it on the south side.
Getting through here is tough. However, with a lot of these teams actually still being within this circle, with the circle actually heading up here very early on, a lot of teams opted to take up this position, get themselves a compound within, or find at least some positions to play with. I don't think this is a bad thing whatsoever for GameLord, because there is a huge amount of area underneath this bridge that you can play from, that you can position yourself in if you have to get a little bit closer, and they're waiting it out as long as possible, sending Robs down towards the eastern side to ensure that there's no players trying to cross over that way and catch them off guard on the backstop. So for North George and GameLord, they just need to wait a little bit longer, then start to play from the coastal side once all these teams start getting embroiled and fighting later on.
That scout out for Robs might have even spotted MUERTE, so they could be aware of that position. You can see MUERTE were moving along that riverbank right now. See if they can sneak undetected underneath this fight between Cave and MADBULLS. Nades up and through the windows. Need to burst really quite perfectly to be able to get some damage on for the MADBULLS. Tulika drops down, and again, not much damage found by Dimension, but swings out wide. The smoke is there to cover the run out, and this could be a crash on towards the MUERTE position. This is so brutal for the MADBULLS to potentially lose 2 here. They spot the player crossing the ridgeline. Flyke has got a ridge to try and control, but Tulika, his teammate, is down, and Malloy will execute on this push. A sliver of HP left, but that's all you need when you're playing with those first aids with backup from the rest of your team. That was unfortunate there. They just didn't know MUERTE were in position.
Yeah, they'd headed them off earlier on, but didn't expect them to live out as much as they did. Gladiators just had an engagement there with GOAT Team, able to take down a fair few of their players. Nade comes over the top from Meku. Not sure if they're aware of that one. Piper takes the full brunt of it, but it is Proxy behind him that actually goes down. Quick swing out from the side, and Gladiators look real strong here.
Southwest side looking all locked up, and again, Dark Project found a central position in this scenario. About 50% of this next circle is water if you exclude the bridge, which kind of does throw a spanner in the mix, but it is going to crunch all of these teams a lot closer together. Cave are moving into position to try and deal with MUERTE, looking at GameLord as well on the far side. Kar98, Akashi, he is visible there, just doesn't quite thread the needle.
Not as of yet. Looking to get it through. GameLord moving down, might be able to get themselves a top 3, which would be really nice, but it will take some serious perseverance. Gladiator is moving in on that western side. It'll be slightly rough for them, but coming off the back of taking an engagement with the guys on GOAT Team, could be decent still. Finally, GameLord have to make their push as the blue starts to crunch them further in towards the mainland.
Bridge they go. Cave taking fights, taking good shots over towards KASIK team. 3 players strong, and only KASIK himself left standing. 2 eliminations so far in the game. Can drop a smoke, get this res, and they are in the zone. With only Cave to push up to here, do Cave even want to go for this spot? More likely they're going to crash, I would imagine, a little bit further south and head towards VIRTUS.PRO's spot. If they can, oh, maybe they are just going to crash onto this hill. It is a good launching point after all.
Cave gets a fair way in towards this circle. Obviously, MUERTE still being a pain on that edge of the coastal side itself. KASIK underneath, most likely to go down as well, as MUERTE still put on the pressure. Malloy finishing off those players. Cave with the high ground now looks very nice. And here come the GameLord team, moves in, takes a lot of damage, looks to push the guys from Dark Project off their position and surprisingly get far in towards the building. The fact that Narvalos lived out versus that is absolutely miraculous.
How has Akashi managed to crawl in as well? Victor is alive and rezzing in a position that is going to be relatively safe. Madness pushing in towards Narvalo, spots the push, but that's going to be an easy cut down, and finally Narvalo does fall. Rob's on a sliver of HP, and it felt like it was supposed to have happened a couple of seconds earlier, but either way, Dark Project marshal the troops and bring GameLord down to 2.
Yeah, down to just the 2 players there. I'm surprised they made that push so quickly as well, John. I think they could have waited a bit longer for GameLord, but either way, down to 2 players, and Dark Project reacts very quickly. A testament to their skill once again.
Dark Project, 2 teams looking making their way close by, excuse me. Could prove to be difficult. Gladiators on the southwest side. Gonna have some vision on this. Next circle shift just about to come through. So pivotal for the pace of this next part of the game.
Circle, right on top of the guys from Dark Project. Gladiators still have a strong spot down towards that south side. As do Major Pride, still making their way through.
We'll give you the caveat here, Blank, of Game Lord had yet to go for this crash when you made this prediction. They were on the north side still. Because I do feel bad for you here, because at the moment, Akashi, super low, 2 players alive. It's going to be tricky for them to make this one work.
Oh, yeah. I was considering going for Dark Project, but I thought I'd go for a little bit of an interesting move. As Ivaneska goes down to a nade. I'll try and throw another one out the window, get a bit more damage perhaps, but not quite enough. Again, I thought that they would spend a lot more time on the bridge. And making this crash was still very good, but not quite enough. And the speed at which Dark Project reacted to this as well, they completely deserve to get at least 2 of them down there from Game Lord. This is a completely isolated fight as well, so the only players that Dark Project have to deal with is the Game Lord members. They don't exactly want to move from this building either, considering they might just get shot at by any other team within the circle.
Cave have moved in on that southeast side underneath VIRTUS.PRO. A knock over towards VIRTUS.PRO as well will bring them down to 1 and force this res to come through. Having the walls here for Cave is probably quite valuable, I'd say, in terms of maneuverability. Major Pride not quite having all of the sight lines over their way, a couple of the buildings blocking those. Dark Project want to finish the job. Akashi low on the inside, doesn't really have any meds to be speaking about. Victor on the staircase. We'll try and draw those players out and maybe allow that sliver of HP to be useful, but Wait just turns the corner, deals with business. Game Lord, you lose yet another. Victor, nade in hand. Did they hear the pin? Wait around the side could go down to it, but 2 up the staircase. Needs to pull out a gun, needs to do something, but it will not happen. Game Lord are out.
I mean, a pretty meek return of fire there coming through from Game Lord, but again, resources were a bare minimum there for the team. Dark Project again, though, doing really good stuff on their side. I'm really happy with how they're currently playing at the moment. It was an instant response to the Game Lord players trying to push in towards their building, and I feel like they got further than maybe they should have in the first place, but Dark Project weren't hesitant to quickly mop up everyone else that was still left behind from the Game Lord team. In the meantime, MUERTE actually got a lot further than I expected as well. Actually just ahead of the guys from Excuse Me in their own building. Avalanche kind of sharing just a little bit with them, with PMPL off towards that eastern side. But a lot of 4-man squads. Gladiators, Kitsune takes a little bit of damage, just a lick though. Next circle probably will decide who's going to take this game, or at least which teams will be looking to fight out against one another. If it heads up towards that northwest side, it's all but definitely a Dark Project win.
Look at that move from Ivaneska. He's just rotated out to the west side of the road to give better angles over towards Gladiators. They are also worried a little bit about that bridge. I really like that move from Ivaneska.
Yeah, it gives them a really good sightline down towards Gladiators, because as you saw before, Kitsune actually took a little bit of damage from a couple of shots. I think it was from either Latte or Wait. So they sent Ivaneska off towards that western side to give them better sightlines on Gladiators if they have to leave their building, which they will now have to leave their building, because this circle actually does still favor Dark Project and causes problems now for a lot of teams in the lobby. You'll start to see some players start to get knocked, some players start to fall purely off the back of these guys able to take shots at them as they have to leave their buildings, their compounds.
Such an incredibly solid position for Dark Project. I really like Gladiator's spot as well on the south side. Major Pride going to have some difficult moves to make. Excuse Me have been holed up in these puzzle piece buildings for a long time as well, and they are looking very secure. It's going to be difficult for these teams who are not in these spots to make anything happen. You can see Folly trying to move through with VIRTUS.PRO, but it's just coming crashing down. Cave also trying to move on in. If they don't go down fully, they are going to lose players. You see Tixie lighting up this rotation as well onto Major Pride, as Cave actually do manage to find the ground floor of Excuse Me's buildings.
Yeah, get down underneath. Although they leave one player behind here. Creepy would have been the X factor for Cave. Unfortunately, does get knocked by a nade there. Excuse me, sends even more in, and that will be the entirety of the team wiped there off the face of the planet by, excuse me, some excellently placed grenades. Up to 4 eliminations now.
Down on 3 players, though, they will be able to hold out on this single puzzle piece. Do they want to move to the west, to move 1 building further in? Maybe they're going to wait for that a little bit longer, but MUERTE, in the meantime, might try and take a squat in that if they're not careful, if they don't control it in time. But those maneuvers are going to be so hard for all of these teams.
Effect from Major Pride. Now, I think at least Max will be happy here. Major Pride getting in towards these endgame circles with 3 players, not going down too early. A lot of these buildings have interesting designs here in the sense that they have a lot of windows, a lot of sightlines looking out. But Dark Project is pretty much safe just by the fact that, excuse me, would have to shoot through 2 separate buildings just to get at them there. Gladiators and Major Pride, though, in a much more difficult scenario for the fact that they're going to have to move forward in towards Dark Project at some point, taking shots at one another, as well as, excuse me, and Dark Project taking shots at them. Circle moves completely away from either of their compounds, and Gladiators know they have to make a move now. It will have to require smokes and require some very, very good timing.
They've managed to get a lead position in, but oh no, Yen absolutely spotted Matic going into that building. So Major Pride, if they can wait out long enough, might be able to sneak an angle against the Gladiators here. But time is running out. Tixi has to make that cross as well, and Yen will have the crossfire on it. Needs to be fast, needs to be aggressive, needs to be on time. Does Yen even want to invest that? No, drops out instead and will alleviate that pressure onto the Gladiators' rotation.
Excuse me. For maybe something more, I've done a decent-ish job so far. Major Pride, a little bit far too preoccupied with trying to get in towards the circle itself and find a compound to call home, to even look over towards the guys from Gladiators, who have done a really good job with the help of smokes and also moving as a lineup to eliminate a lot of those sightlines on their position. In the meantime, Dark Project dealing with VIRTUS.PRO are trying to get in on the action, and that is still done extremely well because considering that they have an effective 3-player unit over on the eastern side with Ivaneska holding backstop looking down towards Gladiators, this is really well done. Madness just listening out for anything at the moment.
Could be tricky as Yen does go down. Yen gets flushed, point pinched by, excuse me. I'm worried that Dark Project have stayed split for just a little bit too long here. We know this move is going to be hard, however, they do control enough of the map. Make it easier, excuse me. Really having to fight for their position now as Effect and Monkey, a duo that we've seen for quite a while in the region, will start to move on in, but it's now just Effect, and he is going to get cut out, but not before taking a flush with him. So 2 players now standing. Wait on the top of this building is going to have so much power in these next circle.
Yeah, as you say, that they were split for a little bit too long. Ivaneska gets back up to the squad, realizing that they're going to have to hold this out versus an absolute gauntlet of several teams around them, all trying to make their way in. But the major problem is Gladiators at the moment, trying to move up. Tixi takes a nasty shot, and he's on the outside wall too, which means that he might be easy pickings. MUERTE also still going, which is probably one of the most surprising things in the game for me. The fact that Malloy's been able to get this far, but he is an absolutely godly player when it comes to these clutches.
Meku tries to cross and gets weight. That is huge. Even with the trade, that is a massive boon to the Gladiators' rotation. Even if he goes down here, there is value. Ivaneska out the window. Tixi crossing into the smoke. What a brilliant spray transition there for Ivaneska. 2 players down now on the backstop. For Kitsune is going to need to cross as well. Ivaneska hops out. This is really bold, but I think Matic knows, or certainly is aware of something going on. Kitsune will stand up, go for the trade, and it is Ivaneska to fall down. They've invested in the res, and 2 players from Gladiators looking across. Off Hayes is still alive as well, looking at MUERTE to go down in the meantime. But look at Excuse Me now. 4 teams alive. Excuse Me on the ground floor. Dark Project on the top will be able to find Kitsune. and allowing one Gladiator to cross. Madness falls down to VIRTUS.PRO on the backstab. A sliver of HP and Dark Project are going low. Another team falls, and it is Excuse Me to be eliminated. 3 teams now remain. As Dark Project taking heavy punishment from the solo players. They're inside as well, and Matic has the outside track here. Off Haze's position is much easier to take care of. A nade on top, and Off Haze goes low. Burn on Matic. Latte goes down. Dark Project are out, and Gladiators are looking for another. They take it. They turn it around, and from across the way, Dark Project are curtailed in their final orchestration.
A really, really interesting endgame there. And I think a lot of that comes down to the fact that Gladiators started to realize that those compounds, those positions that locked you in stage 9, no longer as useful. And the smoke train that they unleashed upon that area where Dark Project were playing was massive. But I think the biggest thing, and the biggest thing that you highlighted, John, was Weight getting knocked on that high ground. Without that high ground coverage, and with that res having to go through, knowing that they need 4 players that end game for Dark Project to take it, Gladiators were able to, you know, resurge back onto that position. And I think it was a bit of hasty gameplay coming through from Dark Project, as opposed to being so patient throughout the rest of the game, jumping out, getting in the smoke, getting caught out by solo players, allow Gladiators with Matic to just hold on for a little bit longer. And again, it all comes to that first really, really strong knock from Gladiators onto Ivanesco, because if that doesn't happen, then the guys upstairs aren't stuck in that building for so long, to the point where it's a case of they are forced to jump out the building to survive because the Blue's pushing them in.
I said it right at the start, Blank. Gladiators, when they have to drop on an ult drop spot on Erangel, they win the game. They've done it twice now in this tournament, when they've done it only twice in this tournament as well. A really solid end game coming through from, I would say, Dark Project until right in those final moments, as well as Gladiators, but it is Gladiators who take the chicken dinner in the end.
Gladiators have done it. I mean, what a way to finish that one out, Max. Up until the very last couple of seconds, we were like, Dark Project got it. Dark Project got it. And then Dark Project actually don't got it, because Gladiators, I mean, they capitalized beautifully off of some of these mistakes.
Gladiators just dominated the South. No one wanted to get even remotely close to their location. I think they had a 1-1-1-1 split. They had this massive split, just everyone was away from one another, and they were creating so much space. I think they were chucking some utility towards Major Pride, making sure they're not going to go for the crash. They were defending those buildings just so damn well, and of course, as the circle moved into the later phases, they were forced to regroup. I do not think they should have been able to cross to Dark Project's building. I really think that shouldn't have happened, but the way Dark Project played it, they made a lot of very small, intricate mistakes, which is sending himself one by one, like Ivanesca, like Madness. And then you're looking at Gladiators, you're looking at Kitsune and Matic. They're like, well, you're coming up one by one. We're going to take you down one by one. And at the end, you're not going to have the numbers to take the fight. And Matic clutches it out versus off-A's of VIRTUS.PRO. It was not an easy game because they were one of the later teams to make it in that position. But yet, with their aggressive playstyle, they were able to create some space and take the win at the end.
Yeah, Avalanche as well, one of the teams that didn't play too aggressively, didn't pick up a single point when it came to the eliminations, but they managed to pick up 1 point for that placement. But when we're looking at the likes of MADBULLS and GOAT, I feel like, again, today, maybe not the tip-top shape that we've seen from GOAT yesterday, because they actually haven't gotten a single point this time around. Not for the placement, not for the elims, which means that they're playing this a little bit slower. Maybe it's the kickstart to that engine. Maybe, you know, the next couple of games, they're gonna be just absolutely blowing us out of the water. Maybe tomorrow is their day. We don't know. But I think that's also the beauty here of some of the games that we're seeing. It's, although yesterday was very much in the GOAT and MADBULLS bucket, today a lot of these teams have stepped up to the plate and they've kind of tweaked a little bit of the things that we thought weren't going too well for them.
Yeah, there's some big changes going to be happening for some of the teams. I like that Sly was trying to go for some early rotations. Didn't quite work out for them, but I still think that Sly has been trying things out in this first phase, especially the second half of this phase. So I'm impressed with that. Dark Project seeming to get a little bit more into the swing of things, especially here. They got such a massive split. I got to say, the late game, how they played that final fight, not a fan, not a big fan, but had they played the mid-game section when we knew as a fact we were going to have a city finish in George Bowl was absolutely key. They had this massive split, right, Janiro, where pretty much whatever circle you threw their way, they would have at least one person in the circle and then they can regroup into a 2-2 split or a 4-man team to just go for the aggressive pushes, which is what they did later on. But still, no chicken dinner this time, but at 10 eliminations on the board, it's still a massive game that just went home for Dark Project.
Yeah, absolutely. But when we're looking at Dark Project, they are ahead in everything. They're ahead in assists, eliminations, and damage. But Gladiators stayed ahead in terms of the time that they were alive, every single one of them. And that did get them that chicken dinner, which, again, does get you quite a nice chunk of, I don't want to say change, but points in this case. So next map, however, Max, I mean, Erangel so far looked really good from some of these teams. A little awkward when it came to that circle, but Miramar this time around. What are expectations?
I mean, Miramar on this one, I mean, who's not going to be playing this Miramar? Then you're not going to be having VIRTUS.PRO, Avalanche, KASIK team, and Cave, which is cool because it's not the teams I wanted to focus on. I wanted to focus on the side of Gladiators again because I've been watching the VODs. I've been in the chat with the boys while the stream was live every single time, and everyone's been like, Gladiators. Yeah, exactly. I'm close with the boys, huh? But everyone was saying, oh, today's going to be Gladiators Redemption Day, and then it didn't quite happen. Then it's like, oh, it's today Gladiators Redemption Day. Might be happening today because we know that Gladiators might have this little bit of a slow start, but in many tournaments I've seen them play, they're a very streaky team in the sense that when they get that ball rolling, when they start to feel good and they're in a comfortable lobby, that is when they start to get themselves these big pointers, potentially back-to-back chicken dinners, or at least back-to-back podium finishes. So off a game like this, which I still believe should have been won by Dark Project, but they take it home, maybe this is what kickstart the remontada from the side of Gladiators. I use a little bit of French saying there, but yeah, I want to see Gladiators, what they can do over on Miramar. I think that they lost an opportunity to third party on yesterday's Miramar game because it was just such a weird fight we had between both Cave and also the side of GOAT team. So this might be the time where they start to kick things into gear.
Yeah, or maybe not. I mean, okay, first of all, before we get further into this, can we have a little bit of a translation of what you said in French?
Remontada is like a comeback. It's like la remontada. There you go.
The comeback. I mean, when we're looking at Gladiators, especially last game specifically, the comeback, I mean, seems to be real. A lot of mistakes that other teams were making. They were very good at capitalizing off of that and just playing their own game, staying focused, especially as the circle was closing. I mean, would we say maybe a little bit of panic creeping in, some very overly zealous, aggressive plays coming out from a couple of players that left a bit of a question mark here and there?
Yeah, just a few question marks here and there, though I do want to give props to John. He's had a rough few days at some point for predictions, but he predicted Gladiators and he believed until the very end when no one else did. We went with Dark Project and Gamelord also. I got to say, Blank did predict Gamelord before they went for that push into Dark Project, but other than that, it was a fun, original entry point, so I'll give it to him. But yeah, okay, John, hey, respect. He's got the points. And he's got 4 points on the day, so he's winning so far. I don't like that, but he's up there.
He's up there. He's trying. He's gunning for that 8-pointer that I had yesterday. But let's have a look at the overall standings because, again, points earned by teams changes their positioning. And Gladiators, I mean, they got a couple of points there. Now that they have a second chicken dinner on the board, they're sitting on 7th. Only 4 points away, really, from that next rank. But looking at Dark Project, if Gladiators get a couple of points this time around, Max, they're going to move up. They're going to kick their throne.
It feels good. We finally see Gladiators up on this top leaderboard. So hopefully they'll remain up there. I don't want to see them slipping down any further, but talking about slipping down, Shockwave has been a slow descent into madness. I mean, they only got 17 games played, so they got one less than a few of the teams around them, but still not a very cool prospect to see set up for them. And towards the bottom, I mean, at least VIRTUS.PRO got himself a second place in that one, thanks to off-A's that he was playing as a solo. In city finishes like that, playing as a solo, snaking your way through does work quite a bit. You're just hoping to get a second place. 6 easy placement points on board, but I haven't seen the VIRTUS.PRO that I really expected, especially the VIRTUS.PRO that I saw play really well in scrims. It hasn't been able to really translate so well into the actual PMPL matches. So yeah, VIRTUS.PRO, still a team we haven't talked about too much, but the potential is just so damn high, especially the duo of off-A's and Purple, but we just don't see them make it into the late game. So hopefully they can make some changes in terms of their macro so they can actually make it into those later stages.
Yeah, everyone's just listening to this, Max, and they're just like taking notes of what they need to change because we're gonna have that break. They're gonna come in stronger than ever, who knows? But if you want to know how this Miramar is gonna be playing out actually, we're gonna be heading over to Blank and John, who will once again cover this incredible gameplay that we have going on here at PMPL EU.
Thank you very much, Max. Oh, very much. Very much. I can't even do it the second time around. Thank you very much, Max and Ginny. We are going to be heading into Miramar. I got it in the end, but I don't think Blank can hear me. However, the stream can hear me, which is going to be fortunate. So, Blank, you will have missed all of my complete flubs there, but you know what? You're not missing out on much.
Oh, I can hear you, John. Can you hear me? This is the real question. I think he can't. But yeah, we're heading into game now. Happy days. Honestly, Miramar, an interesting position on the map to go for. I think that we're going to have that same thing not happen this time around, though. Because on Picardo, we won't have that hot drop. We won't have the guys from KASIK team, as well as Excuse Me, dropping on each other, because KASIK team is not playing. So for the first time, we will see Excuse Me have it all to themselves, and hopefully they can get something good done from that position. Picardo, we're not going to have the boys dropping on this position whatsoever, so happy days there. This is a fairly decent little playing path, specifically for teams that like to drop in La Coperia. That's off the map. We don't want that. We don't want that at all. But we are going to be seeing, obviously, the guys from Gladiators be able to drop into a nice position there. El Pozo, obviously, MADBULLS dropping down there as well, John. Happy days. We've not seen a massive day out of MADBULLS so far. Their point scoring has not changed too much. But one team I'm very proud of is MUERTE. Although not being able to get these huge games, they're still bringing back things into the fold.
I mean, MADBULLS did have that first game on Sanhok. We're coming second, so they've got a decent start already. And when you're looking at their day, they're generally accruing about 25, 26 eliminations, somewhere in that mark. And with that first game, I think they managed to put a massive dent in that average already. So they are not in the conversation, right? But we just haven't quite seen them top out the tables just yet, and maybe be a little bit less disciplined than we've seen from them before. They're going to have to keep that discipline up right now, though, because look at Dark Project.
Yeah, I mean, Dark Project actually dropping very close to MADBULLS, getting an incredible amount of confidence here from their past few games. Obviously, a little bit miffed, I would say, not being able to win out over on Erangel during that position they hold, which was extremely strong, right? It had a great vision down towards Gladiators, had great vision out towards Cave. I think the major issue that they fell into is the fact that they had 2 of these apartment buildings cut between them and Excuse Me. So quite difficult for them to spot out teams actually making their way through, which was only made more difficult by GameLord making that incredible crash over towards that building, which they had to quickly revert attention from. And that small amount of attention they had to divert from positions like Gladiators, from positions like Cave, actually came back to bite them later on because they weren't able to keep tabs on people. If Ivaneska actually having to come back towards the rest of the team as well, and not able to stay out on that western side maybe as much as he would have liked. So Dark Project get a little bit unlucky, but also that is just the way the game plays out, especially when you're in such a strong spot. There is so much attention on you at all times, so the pressure is really, really high to leverage that type of position. Major Pride here going up against Dagestan. Zadira already a little bit low here.
Going to be optimal, certainly. This is on the southwest side near Chumasera. You can see them on the map there on the right-hand side. Major Pride really kind of in an overbearing position right now, and I think it's right for Dagestan to just back out of this one, go somewhere else. You're going to have to rotate east in the end anyway. Head down to Puerto Paraíso on this sort of a drop may not even be the worst idea.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've actually seen a southeast playing path. Well, southeast circle. I think, you know, Los Leones open now for Unicorns of Love, KONINA Power heading down here too. It's been a while since we've seen like these Minas Generales pushes. We've seen a little bit towards Impala and Puerto Paraíso. I think we had almost a chance at getting out all the way to the water on the islands, which is never going to happen. I'm calling it now. It's never going to happen again. But that was an interesting one that we saw. This is much more fair in the sense of we could end up around Minas Generales, perhaps Picado, which is held by Excuse Me, looting ever so happily, gallivanting through the Picado gambling street, which is absolutely fine. I'm happy for them. They're finally getting a little bit of a peaceful start to their game here, John.
Nexus on the north side, again, fairly peaceful. ARR potentially going to spoil that in the coming minutes, as well as Team Doom on the northeast side. A wide split in the center for Unicorns of Love, near La Bendita. Just to the north of Los Leones. Picado should be exitable fairly easily for Excuse Me, as they have lacked that chaos, as you say, in that early game. And starting to get on the road now. You can see the vehicles being gathered on up and figure out where they want to go from here.
Back on the road again for Excuse Me. I mean, this is the first time we've seen them on the road, in fact, because they have had so many times where they're unable to even get out of Picado, a lot of times being attacked by other vulturing teams that have located themselves in their position too. Nexus up towards that north side, you mentioned them a little bit earlier, John. Fair enough too. Nexus particularly do perform quite well on Miramar, although their approach to these games has been dwindling just a little bit. Not able to get quite the same kind of performance as we saw from them right at the start of the tournament, which has been a little bit upsetting for me, considering I thought, you know, this was time for them to be reinvigorated, out of the sauna room, into the steam room, coming out feeling very, very happy with themselves. However, it has not worked out that way, and I feel like they're going to have to get back in the gym and restart everything all over again, because although this has been a nice new lease of life for them over on Nexus, they haven't exactly been able to continue this trend throughout the rest of the tournament so far.
Two players in the vehicle, just going to start to rotate, but Shockwave in the vicinity. Excuse Me actually coming into conflict with Unicorns of Love, and they've got all of their players, they're ready for a fight, they're fully equipped, and look at that, they do well, they get a flush immediately.
I mean, they're so used to fighting in the first 3 minutes, I'm unsurprised that they don't get a knock there. They must be on edge the entire time. Adrenaline running before they even hit the ground, expecting some kind of engagement. So that energy has to be put somewhere, and it's put directly over towards Unicorns of Love, who do not welcome it with open arms here. Shockwave, take a couple of shots over towards Nexus as they vacate their position, take a bit of damage. The monster truck starts to smoke, not as defensible as it seems to look, it seems.
Octavian trying to send the smoking monster truck over the hillside, get away from the sightlines of Shockwave, who are plinking on over. Nicely navigated by Terminus through the junkyard.
Yeah, I will say so. It's 5 points.
He did tap right at the end there, so 4.5.
1 thumbs up.
One thumb up. There you go. That's pretty high accolade.
1 thumb up. Yeah, sorry, I apologize. Plurified it. Pluralified it.
Pluralized.
Plurified. It sounds better and cooler, and I prefer it.
Is that like when you put one thing through a filter and it comes out as many?
That's right.
Okay. I like it.
Thank you. I like GameLord's current position as well, John. Currently moving just underneath side of Graveyard. Obviously, GameLord have always struggled in the past with a bit of speed, alacrity in these games. Last season was a real problem, looking super sluggish, I would say. But this time around, you know, they've actually added a couple of boosters back to the snail trail and been able to get a little bit quicker towards these circles, which I'm always okay with. I think GameLord has struggled with that before, but this seems to be something that are alleviating quite a bit. It is odd because GameLord were able to get quite a few placement points before, but put a massive amount of emphasis on the eliminations, which is quite odd, but it is working out for them regardless. You know, still not doing very badly. 7th place, 105 points, with a potential getting up towards 4th if they have a good game. I think GameLord have been doing overall a marvelous job during this tournament.
Dark Project, 2 of their players moving on in the party bus. Just finding their feet here. Dark Project, I think in these last 2 games, you were talking about Game Lord doing well. I feel like Dark Project have done very, very well at holding Compound Central. To be fair, on these last 2 games, they have been given a lot of shifts towards their location. And we saw that in the last one as well. They sometimes lack that pace to get out.
Yeah, and I think that, you know, although they did get a lot of those shifts, you have to also pay attention to the fact that those shifts were coming to them, and it felt like they were coming to them just because they own such a massive area of that circle itself. And I think that comes with the territory of a team that loves to spread its influence around. So I think for Dark Project, this is not a bad thing whatsoever for them. We saw it over on Sanhok as well, with them able to hold a vast area, which ended up being all theirs. And by that time, I feel like Cave could have maybe gone up a bit and actually pushed back the guys from Dark Project and shared that area. Instead, Dark Project very unwilling to leave that position and were very willing, in fact, to actually go for the fights to protect it. And I think that's the main thing that I really like about Dark Project, is they're not afraid to take engagements if it means better position in the map. And it's very similar playstyle to the guys from MADBULLS. Unicorns of Love, excuse me, still hampering them.
Slowing things down. Beck nearly sends his teammate slamming down with the vehicle, but it is the guns that finish it off for Havlik. Could have been a bit more gruesome there. Beast wants a little bit of retribution, but will be denied. Havlik, with celerity on the flick, will find the shot.
Well, that was quite the car RKO that we saw coming through. Didn't quite connect, but still looked very, very good, though. I think that, you know, for Excuse Me, they're feeling hugely elated by this current game, for the fact that they were able to get out of Picardo for once. Although it only has been around about a kilometer or so, that's fine. That's still better than nothing.
That's pretty good. You'll take those. That's a dub in the Excuse Me book. And taking on a team like Unicorns of Love, who, I mean, they felt up and down, but at the moment, it's not quite what we wanted to see from them, or what we have seen from them so far in the earlier stages of this week.
Yeah, it seems to be the Unicurse. We've not really seen anyone break out from it as of yet, where you get picked up by Unicorns of Love and then can't quite take it all the way. I really hope that this would be the day where, this would be the tournament where Unicorns of Love could really put up something special and marvelous. And I think there's still time, right? There is still time. There's still investments to be made into this team. This is the first week. It's the most momentous week as well, considering you have 6 days of play, which is quite difficult to get through. It's a bit of a slog. And then after that, as Max and Janiro were saying on the desk, you know, you have 4 days off, in which case you can really, really pin down all the mistakes you're making and try and make some adjustments in the meantime. With an organization behind you, that only becomes far easier. So I'm hoping that Unicorns of Love can make some changes, but there have been some mistakes which feel like they should have never been made in the first place from Unicorns of Love. And I think those are the type of things you need to see and be like, what are we doing?
MUERTE, 2 players alive. Didn't have that great of a showing on Sanhok this time. They are going to be diminished, and as we know, Miramar is one of their stronger maps, so that to take an L here would be pretty unfortunate. Deny themselves an opportunity. You see in there as well the Gladiators on the north side trying to navigate the ground around Sly Europe. Tixi did try and get up that cliff with the buggy, but thought better of it. Didn't want to isolate himself in the fight as soon as they knew there were players there. It kind of wasn't worth it to send 1 player up and be faced with 3 barrels.
Yeah, real tough ground ahead of a lot of these teams as well. So even if you are a team like Gladiators or Team Doom or Shockwave that are out on the edge, Major Pride and Go team in fact as well, you're moving into uncharted waters right now, which are just rife with sharks all circling, waiting to take a bite out of you, because this is just fully open ground. You know, it's fielded area. There's a road that runs through the middle of it, which maybe provides a little bit of cover to someone that might want to play there. Overall, a really tough end game for a lot of these teams, mainly saved by the fact that on these edges there are still compounds, there are still high ground to play around with, but as we head into stage 4, stage 5, life becomes extremely difficult.
I like Nexus' position on this eastern side. They've got some really solid sightlines looking out over the teams south of them near Impala. Shockwave at the back might prove to be troublesome for them, however. But They have their own trials and tribulations to be getting on with. Excuse me. Continuing to have a presence over towards KONINA Power. This shift that they've made out to the east of La Bendita is working good so far.
Yeah, I think that they're currently in quite a strong spot with the ridgeline to play around with. I think life will become a little bit harder when we start to see players come up from La Bendita itself and sit on the ridge side. That is the crater looking down towards them. That's where that position starts to fail just a little bit, is when there's teams behind you off towards that western side that have clear sight lines. Yes, it gives you a good position. This would be a good position come stage 4 of the circle, but the moment it does leave you quite open, and that's something I will worry about for Excuse Me. Hopefully they will realize this and understand the perils that are approaching them from the western side and start to send their attention that way.
MADBULLS need to make something happen here to cross this road. Major Pride right next to them. You've got Limbo Boom ahead, who's just going to be taking these shots time and time again for Dagestan. Although as soon as the teams do make it through, that spot for Dagestan turns on its head in terms of vital power that they need to stop these teams from the south. If Limbo Boom gets pushed on by 3, that's going to be curtains. Flyke and Tulika circling around. Zerich a little bit further to the west. MADBULLS did lose a player earlier, which means that they are going to be down on 3 and diminishing their presence. Game Lord split over the La Bendita crater on the west.
Not a bad position to be in right now. It affords you a lot of different sight lines. This shift is a hard one up towards that northern side. Sly Europe are all taking very much a lot of benefits from this one. Gladiators might be able to sift their way through. Team Doom also on that northern side. Shockwave might just be able to edge their way in here, John. But again, it's very open. Quite difficult to play around with.
Could be tricky indeed. Major Pride taking shots out their way. This has been such a difficult south side of the circle, and these teams will not escape unscathed. MADBULLS have already paid the iron price there with Frozen. As Yen gets sidestepped on the rundown, but has more to deal with as Tulika rolls on up and finishes it. No knocks as well over towards the MADBULLS position, and this is where Limbo Boom's spot becomes dangerous for Dagestan.
Dagestan would like to move forward, but like you say, Limbo Boom having eyes down towards MADBULLS was good, but opts to get further into the circle here, giving a little bit more breathing room to MADBULLS themselves. To MUERTE on the southwest side of Dagestan at the moment. Great shots there coming through over towards Snowix. A real long-range shot as well. Surprised they even saw him there.
I think they were waiting for that lineup. They were just waiting to have a team shot on it to make sure that you get that knock. Proxy and Piper maybe unaware that Ace is here as Goat Team get up the high ground. Ray does get shot on, and the side swipe is good, but Snowix has already gone down to a knock as well. Trayson is there. The flush onto his teammate's going to slow things down. Aza has to reposition. Ray doesn't get knocked just yet. Trayson doesn't quite have sightlines on it either. Aza close by now to 2 of the Goat players. Goat went down fairly early in that last game, but this time around, Piper and Proxy playing off one another. Not quite into this next zone. We'll have to push further. A good nade around the side gets a little tickle of damage. Ray bleeding out pretty fast here, so if they want this res, they need to commit now. Endorphin making that dash across, but was just too late and puts himself in danger, but it's not going to matter. A cheeky little spray down with that UMP is good for 1. Trayson falls, and now it's just Terminus on the outside. Goat Team playing with 3. Only have the 1 player now to handle for Shockwave. Endorphin close by underneath him, and Proxy cresting that ridgeline behind. A lot of suppression on the position, and Terminus should be spotted. They know exactly where he is. Endorphin isn't knocked, and Proxy can put this nade away to take it home. Looking for that final throw, but not quite landing on target there. Terminus stays up for more.
Yeah, Terminus might be able to get a little bit more done as well. Dorian is off in the distance, but Nexus, who were hampering the position of Terminus, have finally been engaged by MADBULLS over on that southwest side. Zerich does go down. Keme next, though. It's all going backwards and forwards, but I don't know how much longer we are going to see the guys from MADBULLS stay up. In the meantime, Terminus flushed out as Goat are given a breath of fresh air from the overseeing sides of the guys from Nexus.
MADBULLS suffering heavily. Last player standing, Tulika in the building, right next to Kapahala. The rest of Nexus close by as well. 3 players of theirs standing. Keme, as you said, got flushed in that crash. They do need to be careful. Tulika puts a nade out the window. Doesn't really get too much value for it, but wants to go for round 2. Another nade put on through, and this is behind the wall. Gapahala a bit too close to see any damage from that. Another spray from Gapahala pre-firing the angle. Flique doesn't have any info on this angle. You can see him high up in the back. If Gapahala goes around the other side, it might be a little bit easier. Heal broken out by Tulika. This time he is behind the wall. Gapahala spotted. Nade over the top. Lands perfectly, but not quite enough to get all of the damage seen. Tulika will back it off. Knows he's still behind the wall and going for that heal. Gapahala doesn't heal up to full. 2 first aids. Doesn't want to expend them just yet, Blank.
Not just yet. Has been typically very good at playing around the sides here. Looks for one more. But taken down. Tulika so far making a real good play of things.
Gapahala to get res, but that Molotov is really well placed by Tulika. Wants to get another, but Gapahala's all but done. Dorian actually needs to commit to the heal as well. Knows there's going to be more to go for. That first aid is there. Suppresses that corner, giving him a little bit more mobility. Tulika could very reasonably get out of this.
Could get out of this one, exactly. And I think Dorian and Octavian at the moment have no idea that he's retreating. Might be able to get a little bit further into the game. So far, MADBULLS with 6 eliminations, keeping up that nice elimination count so far.
ARR on the northern side. 4 players alive and taking care of Team Doom as well. Gladiators might have angles on it, but Sly Europe, such an entrenched position for them.
Yeah, Sly Europe are in a really nice spot at the moment. Again, some of the buildings over in that location do allow you to be quite easily crashed upon. I think I would prefer some of the ridge sides over towards AR's position to finish off this game. Game Lord had to make a mad dash towards the center here, John. They've suffered some casualties for it as Dark Project takes some shots down towards their position of the map. Excuse me, down to 1 player now. Not much left for them.
Not a lot indeed. Tulika finally going down to KONINA Power. That's MADBULLS eliminated, 11th place. Predictions come through. Both me and Max, we're going for the central guys in the compound at Sly EU, but you've gone for Gladiators up north. And again, this prediction was before, excuse me, got busted down to 1.
Yeah, an unfortunate turn of events for Janira there, but again, her streak had to end at some point. Let's put it that way. She was doing too well, too good.
They're not out of it just yet. They've still got a player alive.
That's true. Could get 3rd place. Or a win. Wow. You're really going for it. Tixie finding Becca, though. A good initial shot over their way. Go also getting involved towards this side. 3 players of them. Dagestan off the distance. They do see the smokes blooming.
Goat team, Tapok aware of their presence. Becca did get rezzed as well. Tapok spotted by Matic. And ARR are surviving in the crunch. See how much more they can know about it. Sly Europe down the hill, though, just with such good angles. You saw the nade whistle past Matic's head there as Elementrix sends it just a little bit too long.
Yeah, calm and casual, though, for Gladiators. Allows the nade to go straight past. No, it's not going to do too much towards him. 6C continues to put the pressure on. Goat really is the problem here. They're the wild card of this engagement. They see the smokes on the distance. Quick couple of shots from Tixie to suppress that position. But the Gladiators instead opt to move back towards Kitsune.
You gave them your prediction as well, and I mean, it is that north side sweep. ARR gave them those hills that you said you'd rather have.
Yeah, I think that for AAR, this is not a bad position for them, but they are kind of locked in a little bit. It's almost a crater, that compound, and it gives you some good coverage down towards where Sly Europe are currently playing, but there is a ridge side directly in front of you, which makes life quite tough. But again, you can play these ridge sides on the northern side as well, where there currently is a loot crate, and I think that's what Gladiators are going to try and go for. It's a bit more of a passive approach, but it could certainly work out in the long run.
They definitely need to make that choice fairly soon. The blue zone will start to crunch everything on in. Nades from KONINA Power as they move west towards Game Lord. Getting flushed away fairly fast there. Game Lord wiped out by KONINA Power. All 4 on the south as the Broncos charge. Good to control this push as well. They've got cover from Sly Europe's position on the south side, and it's not undoable that they could go down here. and try and take on Sly Europe. The rest of Dark Project move up to this wall, and Wait and Latte are embroiled now in the village.
Yeah, again, this doesn't give you the most amount of cover, this compound. It's still very easily crashable. I think the issue that Dark Project came into is the fact that there's still teams around this location. In the meantime, Black picks himself up a quick elimination for his troubles. Still on the outside edge. Wait takes a lot of damage, but was already throwing in the first aid kit. And Sly looks to remove this final player.
Will invest a lot of players out this angle as well. They do not want to let their advantage of position go to waste. They now have cleared out their back, but Black is still there for excuse me. I think they should have heard a couple of shots as he did pinch away a flush. And they definitely know about it now. Yeah, look at those smokes coming through. Absolutely known. KONINA Power a little bit more to the south with 3.
Towards that northeast side, AAR still holding on in a pretty good position. I think Gladiators have made a very smart call sending Matic out towards this northeast side, and that's so that they can watch as the blue crunches go into an unfavorable engagement. AAR don't look to be wanting to take any engagements of anyone else at the moment, but what Gladiators were worried about is Goat slinging over on that north side towards their spot on the north edge. So if they can just hold them down, push them back like we're seeing right now, then they can control the northern side for themselves and only have to deal with AAR in the future, which has worked out.
That was quite a pretty nade from Fash. I think did he single-handedly take down Game Lord with just 2 nades? I think he did.
3.
That's fairly impressive. He sent the third one up and the second one exploded, killing everyone.
3 thumbs up.
Yeah, okay. I will lend my thumb.
Lend your thumb. Lend me your thumb.
Shift comes through.
Nasty little shift actually down towards Sly Europe's way, so things are looking better and better for you and Max at the moment. Again, I will say that that compound is quite difficult to defend against if the crashes start coming in, but I think it will favor whoever is the bold in the lobby, who is going to go for this crash over towards Sly Europe, because landmass and ability to play around this area is becoming more and more difficult as this becomes the final destination for a lot of these teams over on this side. Now, Sly Europe might have to give up at least a portion of their compound unless they can hold this out for as long as possible. But what Gladiators know they need to do at the moment is take down at least one of the players here from AAR, force a res to come through so that then they can make a move. But time is running out, John.
They really don't have it on their side. You can see it's just about to start crunching, and they are going to mantle up. Tixi into the vehicle, repositions down towards Kitsune and Matic. I imagine, well, I mean, definitely, one of these teams is going to have to go first, and whoever it is most likely going to lose out. Tapok makes the cross as Meku was staying very, very late to go for a cheeky knock, as Goat team as well want to suppress ARR. None of these teams can really make a solid push. If Gladiators move all the way out to the north, there's maybe a chance, but it's so difficult.
Yeah, again, look at what's happening right now. Because Gladiators have been able to force the guys from AR into this position for so long, they're starting to lose players to the play zone now, as Go also will keep them locked down in this position. It's a position that's not amazing when it starts to come towards that end game.
Gladiators have alleviated the pressure on the northern side, but it is not going to allow ARR the route out. Proxy goes down for Goat team. Endorphin and Piper still fragging out, and I don't think that you can commit to this res just yet for Goat team. Maybe if you get a little bit further in, but right on the edge, I just don't think it's possible. I think they realize that. They are just going to abandon ship as Gladiators try and roll around these hillsides. Yeah, Goat are getting plinked away at as well. Kitsune does get knocked. That's KONINA Power taking shots out that way. They are just in this next circle.
Yeah, and just is all they need. Meku has to move forward, but the sidelines are still there for a lot of teams. KONINA Power has a really strong position. Another one goes down there for the guys of Gladiators, and they may be able to get in towards a ditch here to start rezzing up. Next circle, again, does not favor the Gladiators at this point.
Not just yet. Rez onto 1, Kitsune a little bit further forwards on it. Difficult position to get to. KONINA Power only on 3 at this stage. Doran proving to be a very tricky off angle. KONINA Power going to have to move as well.
Yeah, KONINA Power having to move might alight themselves from this position over towards where Sly Europe are currently playing. Tixi takes a fair amount of damage, has to quickly stim up again. You can imagine this team is starting to run out of resources just a little bit. He has to hit these shots. 3 first aid kits on the side of Doran. He can wait out this engagement for quite a while, but eventually this circle will start to push the guys from Gladiators in. And Doran playing this spot actually takes up a massive amount of their time.
Really does. Something they need to deal with, and Tixi will be the one to do so, but in the meantime, their team is getting pulled apart. Torrent nearly gets the trade onto Tixi, but finally Nexus are alleviated, and now that Thorn is removed. But is it too little too late? With 2 of their players up top being knocked, Kitsune getting flushed out as well, Tixi super low, the Gladiators are falling in the face of Sly Europe. KONINA Power, sure they're on 3, but they have to move further north, and it is all falling into place for Sly Europe.
Yeah, there's really nowhere else to go at this point in time for these guys. Tixi's just going to have to bandage up what he can, take some shots down towards KONINA Power, but it's easy as that, just plinking shots away.
Question is who gets these points as well. Fash has 9 eliminations, by the way, for KONINA Power. Kind of nutty, slick with it. There's only 3 teams remain.
Very unfortunate turn of events here for Gladiators. Try and take shots, but KONINA Power, both them and Sly Europe happy to take on the players on the outside edge.
Final circle. Crate in the
13
middle.
limbs. Goodness me, they've had a great time.
3 players alive. And Sly haven't really had to use too much of their utility. And look, Fash doesn't even have a helmet or armor right now. They've lost players, they've taken damage, they've been fighting on that south side. And they've suffered that. Look at the breakout. This is the utility that is just available to Sly Europe. Armor, meds, smokes, angles now being afforded to them by this rotation. KONINA Power getting crunched in first, and the first knock goes out to them as well, leveling the numbers 2-1. Fash trying to get an answer, and the Rez is stuck behind the party bus, but not going to be able to do that. Fash low, Palucci hits the deck, Fash falls, and Palucci now last player standing in the face of 4 for Sly Europe. They move on in and exert so much control from their compound. Nobody could weather the storm, and a low elimination game, sure, but they will take the chicken dinner.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that circle just ending up on them in that barren open ground, it was very difficult to win versus them at that point. The high ground sloping downwards with no cover around that area. It was a miracle that Gladiators got that far in the first place, but a lot of good decisions, and Sly Europe, again, like you said, that position just afforded them a lot of medical supplies, a lot of smokes. But I think the real winner here is KONINA Power. At the end of the day, the fact that they got so many eliminations, and we keep saying how important eliminations are now, and how many eliminations you get will directly afford you more points in the future. So I think KONINA Power certainly were the big winners during this match. I think it was 13 eliminations almost towards the end of that game, maybe a little bit more. That's huge. That is absolutely massive. It's more than a chicken dinner would afford you on that game, just in terms of points alone.
I mean, Max was saying earlier today that Sly Europe, sleeper, dark horse coming up through the lobby. They show us that they do have the chops to take on some of the best.
Sly get themselves that chicken dinner on the board, and Max, it feels like you almost kind of know what you're talking about.
I know, right? It's weird because I'm not going to lie, I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just saying random nonsense, and it just ends up working out. How does that work? I don't know. The planets aligned perfectly. No, but Sly, I gotta say, didn't rotate much this game. They had a 2-2 split, I think, at phase 2, phase 3. Then they just regrouped, and the circle ended up coming their way. But they were not sleeping on their laurels, right? They were not resting on their laurels. I mean, I guess resting, sleeping, same thing. But they were actively also making sure that if teams were trying to threaten their location, they were actively trying to push them out. Like Dark Project got into the push, then they just made sure they eliminate the entire team. KONINA Power tried to get a little bit involved, but they were taking continuous shot towards KONINA Power, so they couldn't go further. So KONINA Power just got the second best thing, which is a bunch of eliminations. 13 eliminations on this game, and Fash had 9 at one point. I don't know if he got even more at the end, but he got 9 as a solo. Hello? That's massive. On the Miramar game also, which is absolutely nuts from this guy.
Yeah, looking towards the bottom, though, of the table, the MUERTE, Unicorns of Love, I mean, Shockwave, Major Pride, all of these teams are kind of teams that we kind of had a little bit of an inkling, a little bit of expectation for today, but as of yet, that is not going to be the case. But looking at the stats as well, when it comes to what we've seen this game in general from the team from KONINA Power, I mean, there you go, 9 eliminations. What? Hello?
Off. I mean, in French, fâché means angry, and he was angry in this game, I can tell you that much. He was popping the hell off in this game. He was taking shot after shot, and I really enjoyed what KONINA Power were doing because they were super early on in what is a really strong position towards La Bandita Fields on the eastern edge. But the thing is, the circle was not coming their way, was going towards Sly, so their thought process is, if we try and center up, we've got no compounds, no good positions to hold, a lot of teams around us, let's just play edge and try and deny teams rotations when they get there. I think that was a really smart play from KONINA Power, and what enabled them to get so many elims here.
Yeah, absolutely. And those elims counting so much, even on top of that placement of second place. And they get 19 points in total and 18 for Sly, even though they have that chicken dinner. But Max, there was this really great team, Gladiator, that was playing, and you wanted to talk about how great they were.
Yeah, pretty good team. They're pretty decent, aren't they? But now I want to talk about Gladiators. Even though they do not get the chicken dinner, I think they had a really good game plan this entire match in particular. So before this circle, actually, they had himself a nice little 4-man split, pretty much all above the northern side of this circle. This enables them to get a lot of extra information on positions such as Slice compound from here, and also you're going to be getting information on all of the compound of where ARR are playing, and also GOAT team just trying to maybe get a little bit involved, maybe engage this fight themselves. So what they do after that is regroup in this exact location with the arrow, of course. And what this enables them to do is not only keep tabs on ARR, this also enables them to keep info on everything that's happening with the side of Sly. So you're also keeping tabs on ARR, keeping tabs on Sly, while also pretty much just locking down the entirety of ARR, because they know GOAT team are on the southern eastern edge. They're up on the northern side. ARR cannot escape this position, and they just don't have to take the fight. They can just delay it as much as possible, and this is what John and Blank mentioned during the game. If you do not take that fight, but just keep them locked in that position where they can't escape, eventually the blue zone's going to get rid of them, which was a really smart play from them. They're just taking the more passive approach to the fight, but just not taking a risk of losing players here and there, because you know you're desperately going to be needing those players later on down the line if you want to push on Sly. So it was a small play, very focused around scouting, but I do like the fact that they didn't take any unnecessary plays, and they just tried to play for the long game and got himself so many extra eliminations later on, because they just made sure ARR and GOAT team could not pause a threat. Then making into Sly is a different topic, but as a whole, Gladiators, strong macro game in the northern side, and I feel like they really stepped up big time in this fifth day of play in this phase.
Yeah, macro play both from Gladiators, but also from Sly, really living up to it. It was pretty impressive this time around. But let's have a look at the match report this time around. And top damage dealers, I mean, KONINA Power, we've already seen what they've been able to do with 13 eliminations on the board, that much damage. It makes sense, right? Like, mathematically.
It almost looks like Sanhok numbers over here. Not gonna, but I do feel like Sly was maybe a little bit too passive very early on in the game, but as the game went forward, they started to like really ramp up the aggressive nature, so they kind of made up for it. And look at that. Excuse me, made it a little bit further down the line, got a few limbs because KASIK team was not here, not dropping in that bloody Picardo drop. It feels good. Maybe you should just not drop there and just stop the fight altogether. It would be good, but they're going to be fighting again also in boot camp versus Game Lord. So yeah, but hopefully they'll listen one day. I don't know.
Thanks for the advice. We appreciate the TED Talk, but we're not actually paying attention to it, because instead we want to be paying attention to overall rankings.
Why do me like that?
MADBULLS still on top very comfortably. Gladiators, though, as you said, today especially one of those days where they have slowly been climbing their way up. They're sitting on 613 points. The gap, however, the disparity between, say, the third place and the sixth place here in Gladiators is not as big as it was before.
Yeah, I mean, currently they gave themselves another decent bunch of games for today, and they could be in the top 4, top 3 potentially even. Though what is even more impressive is the fact that KONINA Power, with one game less than a lot of the teams towards that top 5, and without a singular chicken dinner, are up there. So like they've been, I've been kind of saying I wanted to see a little bit more of this team, but currently, I mean, the results are speaking for themselves. They got themselves some good points every single game. I mean, this match here was an absolute banger for them. Really helps them step up a lot. But I mean, being that high without a win is massive. I would, of course, still love to see a win, because a win feels good for the soul. But KONINA Power, man, they've been slowly eking their way up there, and currently they're looking like a challenger for the top.
Definitely a team not to a force to be reckoned with. There we go, just looking for the English. But let's have a look at the socials as well. Make sure to check them out. We spoke about the giveaway earlier today that you could win by following them, but there's TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, all the good things to stay in the loop on everything that's going on and to hear more of Max's TED Talks, which I actually personally do appreciate. Okay, Max, I listened to them. It was a joke.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, actually, hey, we gave 2 skins away. We still got a bunch more, okay? Every Saturday, every weekend, we're going to be giving away some more skins. So keep on following eSports PUBGM EU on Instagram, and you'll get some cool drip in-game.
Ooh, well, we're going to head over to our cool casters in-game as well, as they're going to be walking us through Sanhok this time around. So, Blank John, do your thing.
We are indeed going to be going and try to do our thing, as it was so aptly put. I felt like, you know, we got a good thing going on here. Let's try and do some more of that. Second helping of Sanhok.
Yeah, second helping of Sanhok. Oh, it's always good fun. Always happy days. You know, it's always strange going to Sanhok 4th and then Erangel last. I always kind of, I want to finish on Sanhok. Is that weird?
I'm not one to judge, you know. We're all weird in our own ways.
Okay, well, obviously Sanhok next, so interesting map, to say the least, and I think that so far we've had a lot of different teams stepping up to the plate. Gladiators having their Redemptada? Did I say it correct? Did I do it? Let's hope so. Their redemption arc, obviously, today, looking a lot better, a lot stronger, getting towards their end games, and I think that although maybe only 1 chicken dinner on the day, still good, by the way, I think the main thing is a lot of their decision-making feels much more akin to that intelligent playstyle we know from Gladiators that we've seen before.
And confident as well. That's really what a big part of their playstyle always has been. I mean, Tixi, from the first time we saw him way back when, he was this mad dog in the lobby, right? You let him off the chain, he's just going to flush everyone out. It did level up the rest of the lobby, and throughout the course of especially last year, it felt like everybody leveled up around them, but they kept that confidence, and that's what powered them through last year. And now I think we're seeing it here.
Absolutely. This time around, we are going to see, obviously, Camp Alpha, and I'm done with that one. That one ruins me. You know what? Squares.
Squares, yeah.
This position is now open to any team that would like to be up here. It looks like Shockwave is going to go for that one. Dark Project also not in, so Camp Bravo is also free on this side. 2 positions around the map that you can actually head up towards. A lot more position on the map has been taken up in, you know, what it seems to be quite spread areas. Even Major Pride on this side also taking quite the spread. So interesting stuff we're seeing that. And we also, as always, we have to see this nice little spread coming through from VIRTUS.PRO, who is starting to take this a little bit more seriously. But more often than not, it does seem like this compound feels like the position they regroup on top of. Dark Project not being in the game also does mean that this area of the map is now much more free, with this team not actually heading down. And it will look to me like the guys out from this side of the map, Camp Bravo, it will be Avalanche holding up on that position. So good stuff.
Pretty comprehensive review of the map layout right now. KASIK team taking a fight with the northern prong of Sly Europe's position. Both of them on wide splits. 2-2 for KASIK, 1-1-1-1 for Sly Europe. And it is now only a 1-1-1 for Sly Europe, as they did lose a player up on the north side circle, very central. Really nothing special, except for the fact that it cuts out that those western islands, so everybody can make those moves east.
Yeah, a lot of these positions now able to be alleviated. Particularly, like you said, the Northwest Island, these teams would like to move out. Obviously, you've got Shockwave, would like to head over the side of GOAT, who are currently holding them out. A very typical position that's held out almost all the time. When you drop in Hatin, you get afforded a very good position to loot up with. Unfortunately, moving out from that position becomes a little bit more difficult. I'd expect Shockwave didn't want to move down towards that south side, you know, because you have to push through Cave, then you have to push through MADBULLS, then VIRTUS.PRO. Overall, it's a very, very tough rotation to make. In the meantime, Doom actually takes some shots down towards KASIK team and find a fair few of them while they're at it.
A little bit of value. Okay, we like it. 2 players down for KASIK team. They managed to get a point earlier, but this is the punishment you take for going such wide splits. You run into four squads and have a bad time. VIRTUS.PRO did not, in fact, regroup to the compound that you indicated on that junction. They, in fact, have moved a little bit further north to look at Game Lord in boot camp.
It's interesting to say. I mean, with Excuse Me not playing, Game Lord may get a false sense of confidence, right, playing inside of boot camp, in which case VIRTUS.PRO are looking to perhaps capitalize on that. That's cruel. That is really cruel gameplay coming through from VIRTUS.PRO. Game Lord might fall prey to it.
Yeah, it's an adaptation that maybe Game Lord won't expect. You're right, it could be very, very sneaky. With Cave Up and Camp Alpha as well, there is potential for VIRTUS.PRO to be unaware that there's a team coming from that western side, and here we go. They enact that exact thing. They lose a player. I say Game Lord lose a player. There is a trade, however, as Akashi finds Folly on the rooftop, but there is a mad dash across out in the open. Akashi takes a lot of rounds. He expends most of his magazine as well, and a very well-disciplined peek coming through as Victor can't get that refrag.
Yeah, unfortunate stuff, and Akashi just gets up towards the doorway. Again, this was very typical. I mean, it looked like Game Lord were going to move down towards that southeast side, but again, it's that false sense of security that starts to set in with Excuse Me not hot dropping on top of them. And VIRTUS.PRO, really cool little adaptation from them, honestly, moving up towards this position. Yes, they take a knock on their way out, but in the meantime, they're able to pick that back up again. And all in all, it feels like Game Lord is on the worst end of things for themselves. VIRTUS.PRO don't really want to take too much time with this one, though, because moving out towards that eastern side still is a priority, with a lot of teams already moving in towards this area. KONINA Power, after that last game, looking very strong. Team Doom just falling underneath the boot or hoof.
The horseshoe will clash down. Will be met with very little resistance, Team Doom. Losing 2 very early. They were a team that took some fights on the northern side, taking out half of KASIK team as well. So these teams are just starting to shred each other on the southeast side, and these central spots are going to be so much harder to hold with 2 players. This is a very valuable compound, and I don't think that Team Doom are going to put a hold onto this.
I don't think they will be able to, especially with the amount of players they're currently boasting, and I think that KONINA Power know that as well. Even if KONINA Power know they're only down to 3 players, crashing this compound becomes a lot more simple. There's 3 compounds to hold. You can't go 1-1-1 like that. It's impossible. You need at least 2-1-1 on these positions to hold it out. So I think right now for Team Doom, it's just a matter of time before they get evicted. And it will be a cruel evicting at that, kicked out on their bottoms, over on the grassy pastures here on Sanhok. Not the most enjoyable thing as well, because it is quite swampy around here, isn't it? Dagestan down towards that southeast side, as well as Major Pride, all moving up and flowing around Quarry towards the central area of the map, which the circle has dictated.
MADBULLS are making their standard rotation on the bridge south of Painan. They move up to the compound. They know they're going to have to move further, but they're going right through the middle of Sly Europe right now. This south side could prove treacherous for them if Sly Europe get those angles, but it looks like they're not quite on the lookout just yet. Still looting, still moving. And the MADBULLS sneak their way through and actually head out a little bit further south, maybe even trying to swing past Kampong.
Why does it feel like Fleek is going faster than anyone else? Actually, this is Zerich driving right now, is it not? I don't know. MADBULLS feel like they go quicker in their vehicles. I don't know if that's just me, or if they just push it to the limit like no one else.
They're just kind of crazy like that.
Because they want to be the very best.
Yeah, no one ever was that fast.
Exactly. But yeah, all the way to Kampong.
Can't catch them. It's a real test.
It is a real test.
Even if you're on a train.
You can't fault their cause.
No.
Obviously, MADBULLS who towards Kampong.
That was so dumb.
That was so dumb. MADBULLS actually chasing down KASIK team. Again, really terrifying team. Fast like a hawk and just as predatory, looking for the final member of KASIK here. Unicorns Love also making their way up past Cave. That's really broken my mind there, because I was about to say Cave aren't playing, but they are. But then I'd already said Cave. I was in the position. never mind. We will continue. Another team that is quite good on Sanhok is Cave, though. And I think that they might be able to get a little bit further into this one, though they have been quite slow after pushing off from that Northwest Island over in Camp Alpha. But nevertheless, they might be able to get something done, though they do prefer to play on these outskirts of Quarry. Getting down to them now with Sly Europe, Major Pride, Team Doom all on the way will be difficult.
MADBULLS have managed to scout this entire South Peninsula and just go back to their initial first stop on rotation with this circle. They've got so much information.
It's funny because I keep looking at the map feed and then just I hear this in my headphones. And I'm like, oh, that must be MADBULLS. And then back to the map feed, it's peaceful again. And then 5 seconds later, and I'm like, oh, God damn it, Zerich, just slow the vehicle down, please.
Oh dear. MUERTE didn't take the opportunity to move across the river either. They're going to be slower on that southwest side. If they'd have moved in, they could have been in this compound waiting for MADBULLS to come back, although you kind of expect MADBULLS to already be here, given their rotations over the last couple of days.
Yeah, I mean, you can't expect MADBULLS to be anywhere because they've been all in and out, like you say, on this southern side of the map. So I think MUERTE is probably like, are they here? Are they not? We saw them zoom off, but then we heard them zooming back. We don't know.
The Oscar, because they are everything, everywhere, all at once.
Exactly, that is correct. KONINA Power moving through the building, looking, potentially a couple more of the players, at least finds one, but I do believe that was a knock and a flush for KONINA Power. Yeah, Fash going down. Not an ideal player to be losing as well with just how strong he has been.
A lot of chaos going on northeast side of Quarry. Teams suffering. Dagestan and Avalanche both taking casualties there. 3 players alive for Avalanche, which gives them the better end of the deal, sure, but it's still not a good deal either way, however you slice it. VIRTUS.PRO, I think they're regrouped to that junction compound. Really smart.
Yeah, I mean, this could... again, this is where we said they would end up. So this is a case of moving up towards Game Lord's position, clearing that out a little bit, and then coming back down here, because that is a position that can actually afford some problems for you as VIRTUS.PRO, as this team most likely would head down towards their way with Game Lord. But now they have opened up a lot of area around them, with the circle kind of centering up here as well. Happy days.
A nade to answer from Ray. Last player standing for GOAT team. Players around the side of the tree trunk. There's just too many angles to cover off with that DBS. You needed those knocks faster. GOAT team eliminated on the northeastern side. I think the flush came through. Yeah, Aza does go down as Nexus are right over this hillside. They are diminished in forces, a little bit slower on the beat. Will have invested a little bit more utility as well, so Nexus might be able to sweep this one under the rug. Okay.
Well, seems quite interesting.
That's one way of putting it.
Seems quite definitive.
Yeah.
Again, a lot can change. It's a very difficult compound to crash into, though, but still not the most difficult. I'd say that Cave is currently holding the stronger compound just with the layout of it, and it means you can be a little bit more focused up in your positioning. For VIRTUS.PRO, they're currently holding a crossroad. It means you can crash onto one side of it, try and deny some sight lines there from the other end of the compound itself, so still doable, but again, they just have so much freedom around them at the moment that VIRTUS.PRO is nigh on unassailable at this point in time.
But need some real force, some power to try and get on in. To be fair, if you want to move fast, you look to the MADBULLS, right? They are on that south side. Probably the most isolated team. Could just razz it in. Unlimited razz.
Unlimited razz, yes, that is correct for the MADBULLS. They're looking good. To send it to the limit again. It's not been a huge MADBULLS day so far. I think yesterday did rattle them somewhat. But again, it only takes a little bit of a while for the vibrations subside in the brain. You get back on with the duty at hand, which is taking this tournament home.
On the south side, MUERTE still... I don't know if MADBULLS are aware of the MUERTE position. I feel like the vehicles were used a little bit too close, and I think maybe Flique and Zerich are aware, which is why they left that backstop. We'll have to wait and see, though. CJ definitely sees two. Look at there, goes for the shots. Doesn't have a teammate to back up, though, as the two teammates are forwards in position. And that is why you wait for team shots, Blank. You wait to be able to get those instant knocks.
Yeah, exactly, because Chulika currently is doing some river dancing at the moment with the way he was moving on that cliffside. You could barely see his feet, let alone actually taking shots over towards him, in and out between the trees. So I think for Chulika, always understanding that he most likely would have been taken shots at, just wanted to identify the location. But you're right, John, if you don't have the team shot, it's no point taking that shot anyway, because all you're doing is revealing your location. But I think if they did have the team shots, even with the way that Chulika was moving, you might have found a couple of tags onto him and maybe a lucky headshot, which would have led to the knock. Unfortunate.
VIRTUS.PRO still in a slap-in position. They are going to have so much afforded to them. MUERTE break out south, go across the river again, and we'll try and move through Painan. Probably fairly safe right now. Well, it is fairly safe right now. We know that. But they might hypothesize that as well, as the teams from Painan likely will have moved further out to these value compounds. They'll find out that in just a moment. The circle shifts, heads up north, and SHOCKWAVE still in the slice.
You know what? I'm doing it. I'm going to predict the center team.
You think?
I think.
Okay, I feel like that's very reasonable, given how the circle is right now.
I tried to go for a lot of like a few little cheeky picks here and there that might not go through or might happen, you know, just to spice things up. I'm sick of it. I'm predicting the center team that has the best chance.
That's you're just feeling bad about your time. I mean, you did lose last week's predictions, right? So
I did, and I kept things a little bit cheeky over there as well. But I've decided, you know what, let's just do the safe play.
Let's just do the safe thing. Yeah. I wonder if Cave are going to be able to take them down. The MADBULLS are suffering here against Avalanche, and yeah, I feel like there's just nobody else right now.
No, I mean
only Cave, I think, is the outside chance here.
Yeah, but even then, like watching them versus Dark Project on their early game of the day just doesn't fill me with confidence, right? And after they lost that incredible compound that they're currently holding up towards that western side, I think things are just going to start going a lot worse for them. The best thing that we can hope for is maybe MUERTE moving in from that southwest side, perhaps crashing over towards VIRTUS.PRO. But again, VIRTUS.PRO will have to think about locking things down on these compounds. They can't keep playing this four-man split forever. They'll have to share, or at least learn to.
Beg your pardon, I just had a massive unexpected sneeze, but there we go.
Oh.
Sorted it out.
I didn't hear any of it.
Oh, it's...
Love how it was massive and unexpected.
Yeah. No, it was...
You were assassinated by your own inner body workings, I see.
Got snuck up on. Was it Tapok? I think it might have been.
It might have been Tapok. Yo. Maxman going for... I think Maxman's like channeling the spirit of me, going for Major Pride. I'm okay with that. It actually was another team that I was going to go for, but I think Major Pride's disappointed me far too many times at this point in time for me to give them any resemblance of like an accolade.
Yeah, I think a lot of these teams have really struggled in a lot of situations. MADBULLS, not really one of them, but they will fall here. A tough engagement on that south side against Avalanche will be the end of them, and they will be finished off by Sly Europe, currently on a split out in the open. NEXUS on the east, close to SHOCKWAVE. Last player for NEXUS, Octavian. SHOCKWAVE on 3, circle shifts, and blank. Yeah, I mean, it's VIRTUS.PRO all day.
It is VIRTUS.PRO all day. If they don't win this, you know, I'll be shocked and appalled. They really have been given this game.
Only Cave that could possibly have a chance.
Yeah, and I think even Cave is going to be moving over ridge side shortly, in which case life's going to be very tough for them. Octavian takes a tumble. Just looking around the map, just seeing players getting assaulted either by environmental effects or another player's barrel.
It's cruel, isn't it? I mean, the west side of Quarry was where Dark Project found their bastion, and everyone's like, oh, it's safe there, right? We just go and win there? Cool. No. You lose, you die. Bad.
Negative, yeah. But yeah, KONINA Powers struggling to get out from this position. MUERTE finally 4 eliminations, though not bad. Cave still going. Game Lord with 2. Honestly, big props to Game Lord. I think they realize that this is a game that they don't play alongside with, so hopefully get a couple of points out of this game, even if they are just placements.
Spray down from Nomi onto the hillside. Fairly nice, didn't even need a teammate. This teammate will take the elimination point though. Effect snaffles that one away. Major Pride are still 4, and they're playing on this east side. But how much further can they go?
Yeah, Cave finally starting to creep up towards the guys from VIRTUS.PRO. Now, VIRTUS.PRO haven't done much this game in terms of looting, in terms of scouting. They've had to remain in this building the entire time. So, you know, maybe they're not feeling as energetic as some of these other teams that have fought through thick and thin to get here.
I wonder if they're going to be able to get out of their compound as well. I think if Major Pride take a casualty to Shockwave or to Game Lord, but it looks like Shockwave are going to throw themselves at Game Lord's position as Sly finally get taken down. Rob's behind the rock. One of the 2 Game Lord players remaining. Victor now out in the blue zone. Not long for this game. Beg your pardon. Not long for this game. VIRTUS.PRO have taken a knock as well, in the meantime, in their middle compound.
Yeah, Nomi actually threaded the needle with a sniper rifle headshot onto Purple through the building. Really nice shot coming through from Major Pride there. Now, assaulted on both sides. Again, this is where I think VIRTUS.PRO have to start grouping up just a little bit. Yeah, this is Nomi with the M24. Thing is absolutely beastly.
Mentioned spotted. Single brings Cave down to 3, and that kind of throws Cave out of the running now to push onto this. If Major Pride and Cave move in at the same time exactly, there's a chance that VIRTUS.PRO don't win this.
Yeah, but then they'd have to launch a walkie-talkie halfway across the map to communicate, which is not happening here in Pogi Mogi. Ooh, Palucci from behind.
Might have ruined Major Pride's day there. A knock at the back with the blue zone pressuring on in. Gonna have to crawl forwards. This means that they have to push up to the walls, to the rocks against VIRTUS.PRO, and they will be within nade range of VIRTUS.PRO, who have been holding onto that utility for a while. Shockwave will also have the sideswipe. Major Pride's day might have just been ruined by Palucci on his own, but Shockwave is still gonna be the cannon fodder here. Cave have sightlines onto them as well.
Shockwave. Take a lot of shots, able to get back up into it though. Influence has got a huge amount of bullets in the back of the magazine. He can take sprays like this all day long, and it's exactly what he'll do. That's what he's been saving all these up for. Takes shots in towards the vehicle explodes. 2 players from Shockwave down.
Major Pride actually managing to get the crawl into the zone, taking care of Shockwave, losing a sightline threat to them. That is a really interesting position, given that Shockwave were just taken down.
Do you know what? This actually could work in the favor of VIRTUS.PRO, and the reason being is that although they have not regrouped as of yet, and I think that that is very silly, this will force them to regroup. So maybe the Circle has made the executive call that VIRTUS.PRO need to group up so they can win. It has favored them so much at this point, and now needs to nudge them in the direction of victory, or at least what they need to achieve to make it happen. But Single actually taking a lot of shots. That's very bad news. 2 down.
Major Pride moving in, all 4 of them alive, and now have the numbers advantage here. The forwards position from Purple might have to be a massive standpoint, but Cave are going to put pressure on that way as well. And this is the push that we said could bring VIRTUS.PRO to their knees. Can they get a res? Can Influence take him down? Yes, he can. Cave are ruining the day of VIRTUS.PRO. They might have been sent for a spitter. Max might be on to a winner as well, as Major Pride exerts so much pressure now. VIRTUS.PRO dispatched, and it's Major Pride who have turned it around. Cave now with 3, getting lit up from the fire line. There is nowhere to hide now. Thread those bullets through the grounding sticks of the cabins, and only 1 player remains in their way. Creepy, holding behind the rock, finds Nomi, but that is it. And somehow, Major Pride take a blinder of a chicken dinner.
I can't wait for Max to give an explanation on the desk there, but let me just do a little bit of a rundown of what was said to us in our private chat here, because this is Max word for word. This Circle, exclamation mark, 2022 Circle is back. I'm going for a weird pick. Don't judge me. And we won't, Max, because the game has judged for you. You are one smart cookie, I'll give you that. But yeah, Major Pride able to leverage their position on that side and then quickly take over on the north. I think if the Circle maybe moves a bit further down, but the pinch was unreal. And I think VIRTUS.PRO just showed us absolutely nothing in terms of being able to defend this position. The most amount of engagement that was going down was between Shockwave and Major Pride, and Cave and Major Pride. VIRTUS.PRO didn't get involved at all, and it is that split that they had for so long that comes back to bite them. I think as soon as they saw that circle moving towards the northern side, they all just group up and they have to swing north.
Yeah, that split, I think you're right, was really the difficult part. The first knock through the window as well onto Folly opened the floodgates, and that was it. Everybody else just took control from there on. In third place finish for VIRTUS.PRO. But what an execution from Major Pride to take the chicken dinner on the second Sanhok.
Your order is here.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Welcome back to the analyst desk, where we have Max, who actually hasn't been right just once today, but twice. And he seems to have ordered a lot of dubs. So let's look at the predictions to start off with, because that's exactly what he got right this time. I mean, we all went for VIRTUS.PRO, and he was like, I'm gonna do like a weird one, guys. Like, don't judge me. And yeah.
What can I say? I ordered a bunch of dubs on Riz today, and it all arrived today, just now. VIRTUS.PRO made sense, right? Because we've seen this circle so many times in 2022. Reason why, as Blank said in the chat, was said 2022 circle back. Exactly what I wrote in the chat. Because that position is just so damn strong. Unless Shockwave dies, and then you go for the northern split, expand your territory up there, and that's exactly what Major Pride tried to do. They avoid the whole scuffle happening, or scuffle as well. They avoided the mess just happening inside of Quarry, and then the moment the Shockwave go out, you can just expand up in the northern edge, and all the teams like VIRTUS.PRO, like Cave, just cannot push out of their location because you're just so predictable from that point onwards. And Major Pride still have 4 players. 20-pointer! That's an absolute banger of a game coming out from Major Pride. And I said it, they are seeming to be a lot more comfortable to go for these big calls, these big plays. And in this case, it paid off big.
Yeah, I mean, you did say earlier today as well in the broadcast, Max, that Major Pride was a team that's laying a little dormant, but flying under the radar. And on the second Sanhok, they prove what they're capable of. I mean, 20 points is not something to turn your nose up against. And when we're looking towards the bottom of the table, however, it feels like some of these names, I mean, GOAT team, they get 1 point. After yesterday, it kind of like brings in the question, have they expanded and used every single bit of energy?
I hope not, because we still have 2 phases to go after this, so hopefully you still have a little bit of energy. You'll have to try and get yourself a few monster cans. I'm sure that's going to put them back on track. But
Absolutely.
Major Pride gave himself a... I mean, 4 assists at the end of the day means that they were just going guns blazing, completely shredding the competition. And VIRTUS.PRO, though, cheeky. 3 eliminations. If I had to be critical on how they were holding that trifecta compound on the road, I feel like Offhaze stuck to the southern building for way too long, because at that point, the southern edge, it's all out of circle. No one's going to be pushing in from that location. I think Offhaze should have regrouped with Single to fight Cave, or to rejoin with Folly to fight off Major Pride. The fact he didn't do that, they lost a lot of early aggressive potential that they could have applied on Major Pride, Cave, and potentially even other teams trying to get access to that spot. So I'm just like nitpicking, but it feels like VIRTUS.PRO just don't like playing as a team, which is weird in a team game. But we'll see. At the end of the day, it was a good performance. And this is the fight I was talking about on the west side of Cave. The Major Pride avoided, and they pretty much just picked up the pieces. Whoever survives this fight, they're just going to get the elims right after. So Major Pride, very good as the Eastern gatekeepers.
Yeah, also macro play coming in again from Major Pride. This is like a more of a history, more of a thing that we've seen in the last couple of games. I lost the word that I wanted to say. And that is a macro play. So far, every team that has managed to get that chicken dinner on the board and get some really good elimination was down to that macro play, down to that positioning, down to just getting a lot of the things right when they were under very high pressure scenarios.
Yeah, the macro has been so important. A lot of the times when you see which team takes the chicken dinners, the team that goes for big, aggressive play, that if it works out and they come out on top with like 3-4 players alive, they can just dominate the rest of the lobby, which is why we've seen MADBULLS be so successful so far, is because they are a team that is not scared to go for these big plays if they know that there's a very high chance of that play rewarding them later on down the line. And looking at the leaderboards, I mean, they're still going to be up there the side of MADBULLS and MUERTE completely uncontested. And because GOAT Team, because Nexus Gaming have not been bringing many points in today, that lead is starting to lengthen even more for MADBULLS and MUERTE.
Yeah, Major Pride also, they are pushing themselves onto this first page. They are currently on 624 points. A little bit of catching up to do from Cave if they do want to knock them out of that positioning. But again, this just goes to show you need that one chicken dinner, that one good game with a couple of elims on your back. And who knows where you're going to be ending up in these standings. Well, like you said it yourself,
slightly up there still.
Yeah, slightly up there. I mean, that's a good place to be, right? Like you're up there, you're closer to the sun, you're getting a lot of that vitamin D, which is enough to give you some energy. But you know what? You're absolutely right. Get another monster. Get the energy going. You still have one map to go, and it's going to be a very important one to finish the standings for today, because again, tomorrow, what is tomorrow, Max? Well, it's going to be the final day of Phase 1. But before we head there, we still have one more Erangel coming your way this time around. And it's going to be John and Blank once again, walking us through it all.
Bringing day number 5 to an end, back on Erangel. Blank, you said it felt a little bit weird to end here, but you know what? I always like it. It feels like home.
You changed your hair?
Have I? I don't know. Maybe. I took my headphones off briefly.
All right. Looks like it's super bouffant up today. Looks good. Looks good, man. I like it. Yeah. You look like you could be in Top Gun. All right. So nice. But yeah.
Call sign B. That's the thing. It's a difficult question to ask on the fly.
Yeah. I don't know. That's a tough one. You know. I can't think of a good call sign right now. Maybe someone in the chat can think of a good one for me, and we can go from there. And I'll take as many points as possible, and I'll crown the winner tomorrow. Anyway,
I'll be Penguin, a flightless bird.
Flightless bird.
Yeah.
Or is it like penguin hyphen flightless bird?
No, just penguin. Not a full title. Don't worry. I can't fly a plane, so it makes sense.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fair enough.
Or dodo.
I could.
Dodo. That's fine.
I could try. Currently, the plane is flying with a respectable pilot in it down towards the bottom of the map, up towards Hospital. Obviously, an interesting pathway for a lot of teams. This time around, Major Pride can get out nice and early if they wanted to on this one. MADBULLS not playing, neither a NEXUS, Game Lord, and Sly Europe all not playing here. Teams that have had a fairly decent performance today. VIRTUS.PRO disappointing. I'm not going to lie on that last game. You know, I could have gone for the weird pick onto Major Pride. I wanted to, but I decided I'd go center. And you know what? Nothing's working out for me today, but whatever, it is what it is. Heading straight to the game though. Looking at some of these places around the map, I don't think there's too much here to point out, honestly. Most teams once again trying to head up towards this side of the map of Yasnaya, getting caught off there as well. Rozhok open at the moment because MADBULLS aren't currently in this one. MUERTE Power also another position that is open. There we go. I did it right for once in my life. Open over in MUERTE Power because NEXUS are not playing. So a lot of positions around the map that actually are easy to get through. But I think that is more important for MUERTE more than anything because they can sift up here, straight around here, and all the way up towards Kameshki. So this is a very easy rotational route for them. Considering that MUERTE also dropped towards here in Lipovka, there's even more position opened up for them on this side of the map. And you can also see, and this time I'm going to use the stretchy. Here we go. Oh. That was, no, let's try again. Try it. There we go, we did it. We've got a little arrow in the middle, but most of the teams over on this side of the map currently actually maintaining this. So anyone who is over on this side of the map are having a great time.
There's a lot of open ground out there. You'll get the stretchy circles one day, I believe in you. I think it's...
I figured it out. I've been trying to pull it from the...
the top left.
Top left to the bottom right. But it's middle. It's middle. So I click middle where I want it to be and then pull out from there. I understand now. I get it. You know, life's good. I figured it out. You added a load of tools last night, didn't tell me about them, and I've moved in, and now, you know, I'm figuring them out on the fly.
I asked you if you wanted me to tell you about them. You said no.
Yeah, it's because I'm stubborn, though.
Yeah, I'm pretty stubborn as well.
I appreciate you've added all these things, but I'll figure them out on my own terms in my own time.
And it's happened, which is great. So everyone's a winner. Major Pride close by with Shockwave. Early drops, so vehicles will be pretty onside for both of them at this stage, but the weapons might not be. You can see, yeah, there's the pump-action shotgun with a pistol as a backup. That's your range choice as a pistol. It's not going to be a great time. M16
love to lean on him, though.
Far greater in power than the pump and the pistol.
Yeah, well, honestly, I did like that he was leaning it in. You know, he was ready for the fight, even if he does only have the pump and the pistol. Trazen looks to maybe take some shots outwards. Doesn't quite find anything yet. In the meantime, Snowix getting taken down by Monkey and Yen.
Knock. Flush. Micro Uzi's good for it. Back in the vehicle. Doesn't even stop to loot. Needs to back up his teammates, but Yen looking pretty good with it. And there's a top rope as well. Drop down an RKO from Nomi.
Oh, an RKO?
Hey, dropped on it. I don't know. It's a move, right? You made that reference. I said it again.
Nice. I like it. It's our favourite one. Anyway, start off the game, 4 eliminations. Looks like Major Pride feeling very happy with the way things are turning out at the moment for them. After that last game, there's a desperate need of confidence on their side. And I think it is confidence also in the terms of the fact that they were able to make that rotation up towards that north side, which is intelligent. So the fact that things are working out for them on the plays that they're making, as opposed to just a game gifted to them, that's going to really make you feel a lot better about any decision you're going to make into the future. There is a mental game going into this as well as all the macro and everything else behind it. And specifically for these teams that maybe were finding massive success in previous seasons, but just can't find it now. Major Pride, Gladiators, both found that stride today, which is really nice to see.
Furia leading the charge on the rotate. Gladiators not going to be in front of this. One thing I have criticised them for a couple of times is their lack of celerity to exit North George sometimes, and it has come back to bite them.
Yeah, I think for Gladiators, it is weird, right? Because we see them on the south side of the map. Oh, VIRTUS.PRO having a terrible time at the moment. 2 down already from KONINA Power. Having a terrible time over on this northern side, La Cobreria sometimes, but when we see Gladiators drop in a spot that isn't usual to them or typical, like down towards Ferry Pier or on the south side of Los Leones, they appear to do quite well. So, you know, getting the beat on some of these other teams seems to be working out quite well for them. And I can infer maybe from that a lot of teams have been really studying Gladiators gameplay. And maybe that's why they get caught out so many times on some of their rotations, is because they're one of the most long-standing teams that have stuck together for such a long time. A lot of their plays, a lot of their moves are very similar. There are a lot of new teams, new players in here. For Gladiators, that's a little bit more hard to address. But for them, everyone else has got a clear advantage over them, knowing their gameplay from the get-go.
Obviously, it has changed up a little bit. The shake-up with the points system has kind of changed priorities for a lot of different areas, and especially on Sanhok as well. Not being able to heal out in the blue has forced a lot of changes, where I think Gladiators have one of probably my favorite positions on Sanhok as well. So it does change the dynamics pretty dramatically over on that map. So it's really interesting to see just what they're going to be able to achieve over the coming days, because they have been slowly resurging, and today I think they've really shown us that they are not just going to take a dive on the first season.
Yeah, because you see those positions on the map as well. For instance, northwest of Sanhok, those mountainsides. That's okay and all. Maybe we'll come back to this as MUERTE is currently taking down Cave. But that's okay and all, but I think at the end of the day, you know, with slower circles, which we don't have anymore, players can start to move in.
Speaking of moving in,
Later.
MUERTE crashing straight on in to the duo forward from Cave, and yeah, there's no chance you even go for an off shot here. You know that MUERTE are going to control this. Need to get the res on fairly fast, because this is still on the military island in the southeast.
Yeah, I thought that fight wouldn't conclude as quickly as it did, with MUERTE maybe taking a little bit more time, but didn't give me any time to even get any of my points out there. Yen currently going against... What is going on here?
Yen nearly gets a 1v3 with the shutdown on the dropout, but Black is still in play. Beck is there as well on the ground floor. Could have been a little bit too little too late. Effect is here instead to try and take these names. One player now on the top floor. Monkey is there. Fury in his eyes, wants vengeance for Yen, and an aid through the window might be able to do it. First aid prioritized by Black, but an aid through the tops it's not gonna make one jot of difference. Excuse me, flashed out of existence there by Major Pride.
Is that 8 eliminations within the first few minutes of the game? That is incredible. Almost at a chicken dinner worth of point already. Go dropping out, looking towards Dark Project. 2 players already down and out of it. Unfortunately, Major Pride did lose 1 player in the process, but that's fine. They've got a good position up in towards Severny, which they can hold out for a little bit longer. Unicorns of Love are above them. And with the way Unicorns of Love have currently been playing, might just end up as cannon fodder for the Major Pride machine.
Yeah, they took the fight, I think, with Shockwave, and now taking down Excuse Me. Hard north shift moves up towards Unicorns of Love. Northern position on Severny, which they rotated into late. Gladiators as well can move into this area around shooting range hills, which we've seen a conclusion before on a game. Gladiators didn't have the best of luck in that scenario. Unicorns of Love were in that mix as well. KASIK team on the southeast side of this next circle could have a lot of power in this next zone.
This is a typical position I really do like that Gladiators are currently playing. Gives you a lot of vision down towards shooting range and past that towards box compound. I do enjoy this quite a bit. I don't think Unicorns of Love are in a nice spot, but I just don't really think they're going to do too much this game. Major Pride more likely going to get pushed out from this position at some point with just the 3 players. That could be wrong. They're currently on a streak at the moment.
Zero scouting out towards Kitsune, the 1 player for Gladiators on that forward spot as well. You've got to remember that is a dangerous position to be in for Kitsune. Feeding that info back over to the rest of the team. It is, as you talked about, one of the long-standing plays from Gladiators, so teams should expect this on a circle of this kind.
Again, it's difficult to counter though, and I think that, you know, although some plays can be predicted, countering those same plays is a different thing entirely. Countering someone on a rotation towards a position, a little bit more simple. Get in the way, set up a roadblock, whatever you need to do, but countering a rotation that is innately towards a position in which a team starts, like North George up to the top of shooting range, a little bit more difficult to deal with. But like you say, John, at least teams will know the sort of position that they'll be in and what to avoid. Everyone is running themselves over currently, so I don't know, maybe someone else has also got an Uber order on the go like me and just need to finish out the game to pick it up.
Getting the deliveries. Those are two unrelated incidents, by the way.
Yeah.
Doom and a Madness from Dark Project. They're far away from each other, both on the south side, sure, but it wasn't like they crashed into one another and fell off a cliff sideways or something.
No, just both finding some unfortunate positions on the ground, which caused problems for the vehicle that they were driving in. Team Doom able to get back up in action and on the way.
Have they left Madness? Last player. Yeah, Ivanesca's just abandoning Madness on Dark Project.
Probably unhappy the way that he went out.
You don't deserve a Garez. You
Punishment.
stay down.
Punishment, yeah. You not coming back.
Think about what you've done.
I mean, they had a good start to today anyway, so I don't think Dark Project's going to be too unhappy with ending out today with a slightly subpar game. Goat look over towards Cave. Nothing similar at all to what we saw from yesterday from this team, I'll tell you that now.
A complete change of pace for them. Slipped down. Actually, I say that, haven't slipped down actually. They're still in third place, despite not really performing too well. Circle shift again up northwest, keeps Severny in the mix. And the regroup, I think, further west for Gladiators. Look at that, Unicorns have shifted on the coastline.
Yeah, Gladiators shift on the coastline, like you say, moving a little bit further in. With this moving up towards the northern side of the map as well, that's fair enough. Major Pride still in a good position, but a lot of teams still need to head up this way, John. Will be slightly more difficult for teams like Cave, AR, Go, as well as Team Doom, all sifting in. A lot of teams will already be set up and ready. This is an awkward position on the map as well, with those fences and ditches. There's a lot of nasty slopes on this location, which leads a lot of teams to just crash into them if they have 2 or 3 players, and then just hope for the best.
Goat team on that southwest side, 3 players. Proxy went down. The southern area of this next zone is looking a little bit too packed. Avalanche and KASIK team probably going to want to take each other down. I said KASIK team were going to have a lot of strength in this next zone. I think that's going to continue here. Holding that hill southeast of shooting range has a lot of value, as long as you can get rid of Avalanche in this spot.
Yeah, getting rid of Avalanche is going to be the main thing for them. But they do have to wait for this circle to close in now. Massic up towards the coastal side, providing a little bit of information. We'll hear those vehicles coming at the same time. You can't quite see it on your screen right now, but Gladiators are setting up the roadblock towards Team Doom. But Team Doom seems to be careening off course down towards the south side.
And towards Meku as well. That is dangerous position coming through for Meku now, as Goat are on the south of it as well. There's the map that we were talking about. Yeah, Team Doom are going to get funneled in the middle, and Goat team, it looks like they're just going to disengage a little bit further away, stay on the hill, not commit towards this position.
Gladiators seem to have let Team Doom through without a hitch, but that quickly changes. Goldie, that is a free shot. Meku realized he has to stop going for the spray and quickly just tap away at him, because time was dwindling away on the opportunity to pick that one up.
2 players from Team Doom sequester themselves in the bunker now on the north. A commitment that you make and only last-ditch attempts, really. This early into the game, though, it could catch a team unaware if they also want to try and send in there. I'm thinking Unicorns of Love could maybe fall to it. Or even Goats if they want to try and make their way out there.
Yeah, Goat team maybe could get something done, but currently down to 3 players. Not much more to do here. Unicorns of Love just trying to stay out as much action as possible. MUERTE might have their first hand in a long time, though, on this game, as it just sent us up directly on top of Happy here. And MUERTE quickly sending as fast as possible, leaving hellish flames behind on the wheels with the speed at which they're getting into position. Endorphin gets bonked by the front of the car.
Really done.
Not quite a run over.
It was a dead stop because he hit Endorphin and then immediately hit the tire, so the buggy was at a dead stop. It just felt you know, like one of those things where you just fall too far or you just hop out the vehicle too soon and you just fall over, and it feels so anticlimactic. Unicorns are love getting spotted out by Gladiators, a constant thorn in the northern shore side. Nades continue to go on over. There's the knock on to Noshi, and Unicorns of Love are falling down. Last player now to stand is Zero. Matic has taken damage, sure, but they're so close to each other and isolated from everybody else on the map, it's not going to be a problem. Zero tries to find that route out, but they light it up at the back. Zero, can you get away with it? The vehicle's going to take a lot of damage, but staying alive for now. But where are you going to go? Straight into MUERTE? I don't think so.
I mean, just watching this poor lad like roll up towards the building, there'd be no like names on the screen, then suddenly 3 teams worth of names starting to appear as he gets close. Obviously he can't see that, but for me that's quite amusing. Zero immediately dispatched there. I think for Gladiators, making that same approach would be a mistake.
9 eliminations now for Major Pride. They are behind MUERTE and Dagestan as well, all in Severny. 3 teams, as you said, pop up in Severny. Pretty sharpish as GOAT team try and make that crash. Team Doom will still be in on this next zone, so they can stay alive if they try their very hardest and eat their vegetables. ARR go down as well on the northern side. Sorry, not ARR fully down. Elementrix is still alive on the southwest side of shooting range.
Difficult toss-up right now because I think there's only really 2 teams that have a major shoe-in towards the victory here, and that is MUERTE as well as Gladiators. We'll see exactly who does come out on top. There could be some sneaky teams, some snake teams that might be able to get themselves a victory off the back of this one, but I think this is massively opposed just between the Gladiators and MUERTE. Gladiators, they have a little bit of a tougher time because now heading into Severny itself is going to be a bit more difficult with the lineup that MUERTE currently have. You can see AAR trying to get close, but getting picked apart there. But it is Avalanche instead. Woodson taking some great shots over towards Kitsune.
I think Kitsune took a volley after he got knocked as well, so potentially needing to go really quick on that res. Meku.
Yeah, you're right.
Tixie moving up to that ridgeline as well. They should be there in time, just can't flub it. Nicely found. Team Doom have sightlines. Oh, they need to be so careful here. And it needs to be a commitment on the res.
There needs to be more players helping. Matic can take some shots down towards them, but he has to help. Currently not doing too much of it. Team Doom seem to not find purchase on those shots. Matic repositions, gets up towards some high ground, potentially takes some shots down towards them.
Striker can just bombard KONINA Power out of existence here. If it's on the money, no, it's a little bit short. That one was good, though. A little bit longer, and that's an immediate re-knock. Palucci has to fade away and into the face of another nade. Striker is absolutely terrorizing them. That was KASIK as well, actually, from the top rope, just launching these nades in. KONINA Power trapped between the shooting range and the KASIK squad up the top. They've had so much presence in this circle on the south side for so long now, and KONINA Power cowering on the ridgeline. Fash has a nade, and the crash gathers them all up. Can he put it in the right place? Can he get that cook right? A little bit too slow. Unicorn goes down close range, and English second. Fash moves in for KONINA Power. Might need to weapon swap here, get a little bit more range on the cards. Reloads on the DBS and turns to the M4 to look for the flush, but it is finally taken care of. KONINA Power may be taking the wind out of KASIK team's sails.
Yeah, a little bit of confidence waning there. I think that maybe he could have stepped up and tried gone for the third, but again, you understand, 2 eliminations are quite hefty. Team Doom took a fair amount of damage there from Gladiators. So MUERTE still in a good position, but you'd imagine at some point this circle is going to move away from them. But again, with the amount of position being afforded to them, the amount of time that's been given to them, they're not going to have to take too many fights. They'll have smokes, grenades, everything to work with here, John.
Meku moves up to the ridgeline to aid in suppression. It really does matter which direction the circle goes. Matic getting knocked as well. Not good news, but there is a little bit of cover to try and stay alive. Team Doom, they're going to mount up. This should be an easy cut down, and now Matic should be easily resable on this scenario. There's a little bit of a health bar to play with. Phantom does manage to make the cross and get into the next zone.
Yeah, Phantom getting through there is pretty difficult to make happen.
Yeah.
Major Pride behind MUERTE could be a little bit of a difference maker.
Well, Maxpan certainly thinks so. He's predicted them to win. We've gone for a 3s on Gladiators. Last time this happened in the last match, Blank, we all took the L, but this time around, we'll have another chance to prove Max wrong. And Meku will start things off well. 8 eliminations for the Gladiators right now. Avalanche right underneath them. MUERTE as well in the compound, in the buildings. Might find it hard to leave if the circle doesn't go their way. But Happy J strikes out early.
Interesting play to move out like this. I think they realize that at some point they will have to leave Severny. Leaving Severny is not easy. Puts you in a lot of easy sight lines of teams. So getting Happy J out there as an outpost is quite smart indeed. Bloody hell, that was almost instantaneous.
That is one hell of a barbecue. Not going to be happy there. Dagestan pick up a lot of the points for it.
Yeah, Dagestan should be able to find those. Happy J, not entirely happy with his scout. Comes straight back. Wait for this next zone. Could be a hard shift down towards southwest side. We'll never know.
VIRTUS.PRO? Win the circle? My goodness.
No.
Okay, yeah, that's fair.
Don't talk to me about VIRTUS.PRO.
VIRTUS.PRO?
Whoa. Can't say that, all right? They're still professionals.
Yeah, no, they are very good, despite being in 17th.
Wow, you're really going in on them, huh?
I am. I'm going hard. The ridgeline for Gladiators stays in, as does the MUERTE position.
Yeah, a little bit more of the Gladiators spot, though, on the ridge side. And that tiny difference could mean everything. I'm not even joking. Giving them some ample time to wait out the guys from MUERTE getting in there is really important.
VIRTUS.PRO having an impact on Meku's position. Matic sailed out wide, so not in a position to go for an instant res. VIRTUS.PRO's position is given away, and it is fairly safe onto Meku right now. If Matic can fold back in, Avalanche take another knock. Kitsune hard peeking on the ridgeline. VIRTUS.PRO don't have the sightline through the trees to get that. Kitsune breaks out to the north.
Yeah, they are really trying to spread as much influence as possible here. Avalanche being in front of them does cause some problems. I think for MUERTE, they will have to figure out how they're going to deal with Major Pride as well as Dagestan.
I think Major Pride and Dagestan have to figure out how to deal with each other first.
That's true.
Right up into the wall. They want to take Dagestan out. MUERTE wants a third party. You can see Milky Way looking to move out a little bit more into Severny. First shutdown is good onto Monkey for Zadria. It's just a knock, though, not a flush just yet. A lot of damage onto Nomi. Nades can start to fly in as MUERTE, they move immediately. Look at this. They're trying to just corral this fight. They know there was this threat from behind them, and if they can take both of them out in one fell swoop, excellent news. Nomi forwards. That Molotov not gonna burn. Okay, over onto the wall side position for Major Pride, and they should be able to get this res onto Monkey. Nomi holding this wall. MUERTE yet to have an impact.
To MUERTE. Still not found anything as of yet. Shifu goes down though. Milky Way able to find at least something. Gladiator is not able to get too much done on this fight. They could potentially move up to where the loot crate is in front of them, maybe.
Dagestan out. Major Pride can reassess. Do they want to commit to this push? Do they want to just take a fight? These nades have been flying fairly consistently. But it looks like, yeah, they're going to smoke out towards the fields and try and find that crate position potentially. VIRTUS.PRO.
Pretty decent. But again, this ridge side is really strong.
Opening up the spray cans. As Malloy finds the back foot. Actually, it's purple from VIRTUS.PRO to get these knocks, and Gladiators taking shots out this way as well. Major Pride fall apart as they try and find a way out of Severny. It's just not going to happen. Malloy now actually with sightlines over to Tixi and Meku, but has to choose one. Indecisive a little bit.
Yeah, there seems to be there's a lot of members in front of MUERTE, and eventually they're going to have to leave this wall. I think for Gladiators, though, their main problem is how long can they stay on this ridge side. Happy J once again moves up the position that they scouted earlier on. Great little play there from him behind the tree line. They're going to have to start sending players one at a time here. That is a massive hard shift over towards Gladiators, which makes this game infinitely easier for them. The fact that he's kept the ridge side in is so unfair.
Avalanche and VIRTUS.PRO both just holding on to what they got, which is a whole lot of nothing right now for VIRTUS.PRO, because they're going to have to leave that shack very, very soon. 24 seconds till the shift comes in. Just Monkey left for Major Pride. Could prove to be a little spoiler for MUERTE if they don't expect it, but it looks like they are still worried about it. Malloy taking sightline towards that south edge on the top of a vehicle. MUERTE move up to a little divot, but Gladiators are absolutely going to know what's going on here. Malloy tries to find a way out, and Matic has that cheeky angle there as well around this massive hill that sits affront MUERTE's spot. And what can you do here? Monkey might have sightlines onto this angle, though.
May have some sightlines onto this angle. Actually takes down quite a few of them in the process. 2 down already, John. That is massive.
That is absolutely huge.
12
really
limbs
impactful on this circle. One flush coming through. 12 limbs, you're right. Major Pride fragging out their minds. Doing really well today.
8 limbs found at the beginning, and now it looks like the guys from Gladiators looking to just pick up the pieces. Folly next. That should be 12 limbs found now for VIRTUS.PRO as well. MUERTE should be falling soon. Monkey's just sending nades in. He was always known for his incredible nade usage back in previous seasons.
Happy, not going to eat that one. Discrim does get rezzed by Malloy. And yeah, Monkey is getting pressured by the blue. Needed to find a nade knock there, really, to have a chance to slow MUERTE even further. But at the moment, Avalanche just happy that Gladiators are stopping anyone from crashing their shack.
Monkey still with the coverage of smoke at the moment, but Happy finally gets the bead on him. And Gladiators still looking to put the pressure on. Eventually, MUERTE will have to leave this position.
So will Gladiators. They are right on the edge of this circle now. The next one will also be a shift, phase 8. Matic repositioning up towards the ridgeline. Avalanche also still in this circle. Gladiators, I think, might have to descend now.
Yeah, this has gone both ways. It's given Gladiators a bit more time, but Happy J actually moving up and getting that scout out early onto this position was really imperative to them actually getting here in the first place. And the fact that it's moved back over towards MUERTE gives them a solid chance on this game, because coming down from this position is going to be not easy for Gladiators. Like you said, they will have to move. There is still a tiny little bit of the ridge side in play, but if they learn anything from Miramar, they don't want to get caught out on a top side position against. They move up towards this shack. Great nade. That's one down at least, but now they have to find Woodson. Matic gets it. That was really well coordinated.
Pixie has gone down in the meantime, and they hear this. It's go time for MUERTE. Kitsune still on a backstop. Can't afford to stay here. Needs to get out as fast as possible. He's aware of that. Moves back to the vehicle. The rest of the Gladiators can move in. The res came through onto Tixie. He could start that healing process. Onto the ridgeline. The fight will rage on the top of the mountain here. A nade over the top from Happy J is good to find Matic. Kitsune will be the forward position. Nade in hand finds one. Is he going to be able to find the trade? The DBS is just too strong in this close range scenario. Can res for MUERTE as they move up. Discrim behind the rock, though, needs to fend off against Meku and Tixie. Will not be able to do it, but Happy J opens with a volley down the hill. Teammates falling. One player stands for MUERTE, and it's gone all topsy-turvy. MUERTE now have the high ground against Gladiators.
They left it for a reason, John. They left it for a reason.
They will have the center of the circle. Matic will get flushed, so will Discrim. Malloy, Resable, maybe? Needs
oh my god!
Happy J just about gets it off.
That is incredible that they were able to get out of that one, but they'll have to leave off this rock too. The fact they got that res off is so important, but again, this rock for Gladiators incredibly strong, and MUERTE realize that they have to make a mad dash out of here in the vehicle.
Wide swing for Happy J. Gets to some trees. Could be valuable here. Tixie spots this. Of course, they know exactly where he's playing now, but hits the deck, and there is some good topography to play around now. Nades can start to fly in. Happy J for MUERTE. 2 versus 2 now. As the nades continue to go, and Malloy has capitalized on this chaos to move down the hill just straight up on foot. Tixie looking for the shots. They spotted him. I think they saw an ankle or something there. Has an angle, maybe. Tixie knows there's a player here, and Happy J can't execute onto Tixie's spot.
That's
Doesn't
smart.
have the sight lines. They isolate a 1 versus 2, and Gladiators might have a good time against this now. They're a little bit more central, but Happy J continues that pressure. No more nades in pocket. Malloy there out in the open will spot Tixie. Goes up, sees the nade, instant spray. Tixie now with a challenge onto Happy J. He's turned turns it wide. Will bullets for the knock, and has no bullets, has to go for the weapon swap, and in comes the push. The blue zone's there. Meku's closer, has the DBS to worry about, but it will not come through. MUERTE go down, and a battle of the Titans concludes with Gladiators having the final chicken dinner of the day.
Really, really smart play from MUERTE. They try and angle out both sides of their attention. It works for the first couple of seconds, and instantaneously, the guys from Gladiators realize, you know what, the best thing we can do here is isolate this 2v1 versus Malloy. It was really interesting to see, and it kind of puts Happy J out of action. But again, a lot of things were so cool in that game. Switching positions around all the time, Gladiators realizing when they had to move. Happy J scouting early. I think Happy J was really the MVP of that match for me. He was making a lot of good decisions, able to get his team back into action. But again, Gladiators not to be fooled by that one, and that's their second chicken dinner of the day.
Really, really strong stuff coming through from Gladiators. They prove to us that they can drop in North George and still win games. You know, that's going to be great. I'm happy I predicted them. I've had a blinder of a day on the predictions. Let's head back over to the desk.
Hello. It is us, the desk, and this time around, I mean, listen, yesterday when we got to this point, I was just down on the floor trying to pick my jaw up. It's not as crazy this time around, but Gladiators still, Max, they managed to get 2 chicken dinners. They weren't even in the top 3 earlier today. They weren't even really in the discussion of the fact that they could be doing this.
They were in the discussion that we wanted to see more of them, and we did in fact see more of them today. And I saw every time I was watching the stream, people were like, where's Gladiators? What's happening with Gladiators? Oh, Gladiators fell off. And I'm out here thinking, who asked plus who cares plus touch from grass, okay? And I tell you, Gladiators, plus ratio, exactly, because Gladiators, they put the ratio on those guys. They proved them wrong big time. 15 eliminations, plus, of course, 10 points from the chicken dinner. And as Blank and John were saying during that game, it was such an interesting game of like the changes of position. It was really smart how Gladiators and MUERTE were playing around one another. But when it came down to the individual gun skill, gunplay of these players, I mean, Tixi, he's second to none. He's up there with the best in the world, and he just showed that Tixi is here to play.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely incredible performance from Gladiators today. Looking at the match report as well, in terms of how much damage was done throughout that entirety of the game. I mean, Tixi, there we go. 6 eliminations and most damage and longest elim. I mean, what can he not do?
Yeah, I mean, Tixi gave himself over 1,000 damage. Normally, when a player gets over 1,000 damage, Janiro, we get Kalash to do a noise, and because you're the host, you have to do a little sound. You need to do like, woohoo, something. Go for it.
Woohoo!
Okay.
Was that all right?
It
came from the heart, okay? It came from the heart.
I shall permit it, yeah. But no, it was a great play from there. I love how MUERTE were trying to make sure they can clear all the teams in Severny, because if you don't do so, you're going to get backfield. Unfortunately, they forgot of one sneaky player. That guy's name is Monkey, and he just ruined everything for them. If they had 4 players, it could have been good, but still 15 elims on this one. Gladiators, they're back on the ball, baby, and they're just not going to stop anytime soon. Hopefully.
I mean, not just back, hopefully. I mean, not just back on the board in terms of the points, but also at the damage dealt in this entire map. I mean, what we haven't seen these numbers in the last couple of games, and they're just coming out swinging 3,204 damage, 15 elims on the board. I mean, even Major Pride here, nothing to be taking away from them. They have a total of 12 elims themselves. They're absolutely killing it. KONINA Power, one of the teams that we said as well, kind of lurking in the shadows, crawling up the rankings slowly, bit by bit today. Total of 5 elims as well secured in the bag. MUERTE maybe not had that pop-off performance that we've seen in day 2 and day 3, but they are slowly making sure that they are continuously reeling in at least a couple of points, just so that they don't fall too far behind, and that gap between them and Go Team just...
Janiro, this is by far my favorite day we've had so far in this PMPL season, because we have a step up of 2 teams we've been talking about quite a bit going into this event, which is Gladiators and Major Pride. One of the teams that I said has potential when it comes to their rotations was Sly Europe, and they also had a decent day, way better day than what they've had before in this spring season. So overall, I'm pumped. It seemed like some of the teams that were maybe struggling have been able to just make things work at the end of the day of this first phase. And we still have another day. The phase is not over, so there's even more room for these teams to climb back up and also maybe get in the top 12 so they can play in that Vikendi game at the end.
Yeah, at the end, and that's actually tomorrow. But speaking of days, daily winners as well, when it comes to the maps that we've seen, I mean, what can I say? Gladiators, 2 Chicken Dinner, Sly getting that win on Miramar, Major Pride. We said it, we're kind of like expecting them to be walking up those rankings, and they did.
And let's not forget, even though they're not here to secure themselves these wins, KONINA Power had a big day in terms of eliminations, more specifically.
Yeah.
Like, they got themselves these absolute bangers of performances. Sure, they gave themselves second, third places, but they gave themselves those elims. And we know in this current ecosystem of PUBG Mobile eSport, with this point system, eliminations are just so much more interesting to secure if you're able to consistently take them home. So yeah, KONINA Power sure don't get the dubs, but definitely one of the top teams for this fifth day. I keep thinking it's day 4. It's day 5. It's day 5.
Are you living in the past?
Yes, I am. I don't know why.
If you remember the past, and the past being yesterday, I actually ended up saying who my MVP was first. So today I'm going to be very nice, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to go first, because you've actually been right about everything so far today, which it's like you know what you're talking about. Like you're an analyst, maybe. You should consider that a career change.
You said that earlier, and I was like, oh, it's just for the drink. Nathan, it twice. I feel like you really doubt my talents as an analyst. But we'll discuss that later on. But with, as I said, the performance from these teams and players, I really feel like Fash from KONINA Power had a fantastic day. He had 9 elims on that Miramar, and I think he got 4 in this game. So I don't know how you could beat that.
That's a good point, but I don't want to be exactly the same as you. I want to have like a little difference, deviation, a little bit of a spicy moment on the desk. So I'm going to go for Chixie instead as the MVP. I mean, not to take away from Gladiators. They had an incredible performance. So if we can have a little bit of a drum roll and find out who the actual MVP is going to be.
Ooh.
We're both wrong.
Influence from Cave? Okay, I did not expect that. Wait, I want to load the stats now. Give me a second. The stats are coming up.
Stats are being loaded. They are coming up. I mean, Cave today, as a roster, they've had quite a consistent day. Maybe no chicken dinners in the bag, but still continuously finishing, you know, at least in the top 5, getting a couple of eliminations on the board. And I guess consistency is key when it comes to securing some of those points and getting that MVP.
I mean, I saw John in the chat also saying the damage from Sanhok, and a lot of the clips you saw in the highlights for Influence were indeed from the Sanhok game, so it seemed like that one quarry finish really set him up in such a strong way. In this game, on the second Sanhok, he had already 4 elims in the earlier stages of the match, so it seemed like they did some good performances coming out from Cave and Influence. Normally, we don't talk about Influence too much when it comes to Cave. We talk a lot about Creepy, we talk a lot about Dimension, but it's good to see a new name on the team able to put his name on the map and be the MVP of day number 5.
Absolutely, but we also have an overall standing now completely done by today, since we've played 5 games in total. MADBULLS, MUERTE, and GOATS still sitting up on top, but familiar names are creeping in. Major Pride, Gladiators, KONINA Power, and NEXUS, if anything, they're dropping.
I feel like at the start of the tournament, things were a little bit all over the place, a little bit messy. This is a lot more in line with my initial vision of what the top of the leaderboards might look like. You got your big teams such as MADBULLS, your Major Pride, Gladiators. Then you got, of course, a few surprises like your GOAT team that's going to be up there, and of course also your Nexus Gaming. But I'm overall happy to see that the teams that we expected more from have been able to make these changes, make these iterations, and just kind of doubt themselves when needed. Though Dagestan did slip down a little bit, and unfortunately, I do have to say the 2 French teams, Game Lord and Shockwave, did slip down a little bit at the end of this phase.
Yeah, a little bit of an unfortunate situation to be in, but we still have a couple of phases left. But what we also have is predictions when it comes to how many of us got how many right, how many points have been secured. I mean, yesterday I was sitting comfortably on 8. Today it's 14, but John on top, a total of 16. Only 1 point difference, Max. How does it feel to lose?
Casters hate him for this one trick. John Allen getting those predictions correct. And yeah, wait, so you got the 2 Gladiators chicken dinners predicted, and the Sly Europe because he's a believer. You got the Sly Europe, and then MADBULLS and VIRTUS.PRO 1 point because he got podium finishes. Okay, John's out here to play. He's doing also the Gladiators comeback in predictions. I gotta say, he's going by the book, but it's working great.
It's working great, but something else that's working great is our socials, because on it we do have giveaways, but do first make sure that you check them out. We have TikTok, we have YouTube, we have Twitch, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, and Max is kind of responsible of making sure that everything goes very smoothly, which I think has been going pretty well for you, Max, when it comes to those giveaways.
I've got stuff that's been posted, and that's how it works. It's been going okay. But yeah, we of course given 2 skins earlier today, and we're going to be giving some more next week. So keep on following, keep on getting involved over on socials. It's hashtag PMPL EU. We're going to be giving away 2 more skins next weekend, so stay tuned for that.
Well, and you gotta stay tuned as well because there's a lot of action happening over in Turkey. And again, we said it, one of the strongest, if not the strongest region at the moment, actually, that we're looking at. And, you know, it's always gonna be good to tune in and see how the competition here in EU faces up to the competition in Turkey. So don't forget to check that out. Thank you guys so much for tuning in today. We're gonna be back tomorrow with the final day of Phase 1 with Max's favorite map thrown into the mix, the Candy. So make sure you tune in for that one. Have a good rest of the day, and we'll see you tomorrow. Same time, same place.